Chapter 52-33. The surrounding people were also in an uproar. Even the two elders of the Starfall Immortal platform frowned. They naturally knew about the demonic heaven-devouring art. They didn't expect this person to cultivate such a cultivation technique. They didn't stop him, but they didn't attack. Instead, they watched coldly. "What, you want to attack me?" Yao Guang sneered. At this moment, Kunping Zi suddenly attacked. Yi Wudao also attacked. Even Hun Tian used a terrifying divine ability. They all attacked Yao Guang. Everyone knew that Yao Guang was done for. No matter how terrifying his opponent was, he couldn't stop so many imperial princes. Yao Guang's body suddenly disappeared. When he reappeared, he was high in the sky. It looked down and laughed coldly. "You can't kill me with just your strength." Gu Feng's pupils constricted. Spatial divine ability. "You even swallowed my Gu clan's people?" His expression became ugly. "Haha, that's right." Yao Guang laughed. "That's why I dared to come out. Now that I've mastered spatial divine abilities and my bloodline isn't weak, it's impossible for you to kill me. If I want to leave, no one can stop me." Many people despaired. With such a powerful enemy, no one would be able to subdue him in the future. Gu Feng stood high in the sky. Suddenly, he looked at Lin Xian and sneered. "You're not going to attack." He found that Lin Xian was just standing there and didn't seem to attack him. Lin Xian stood up and said, "No rush. It won't be too late to attack you after I enter the fourth astral door." "You?" Gu Feng was stunned. Then, he sneered. "No one can enter the fourth astral door. Even I can't do it, let alone you. Unless this guy's main body came, but it would be too late." Hun Tian snorted. Although he was angry, he had to admit that the other party was right. No one could enter the fourth astral door. "You can't do it, but that doesn't mean I can't." Lin Xian's expression was calm as he walked forward. The surrounding people also stopped and didn't attack. They also wanted to see where Lin Xian's confidence came from. Lin Xian leisurely strolled into the first palace and soon arrived at the third palace. He walked forward. The fourth starry gate in front of him had already closed, emitting a mysterious and unfathomable aura. Everyone became nervous. Could this guy do it? To be honest, they were also nervous. After all, Yao Guang was the only one who had done it so far. Furthermore, the light-shaking realm had only been able to do so after devouring countless experts and even the bloodlines of emperor bloodlines. It could be said that just from this point alone, he was already much stronger than Kunping Zi and the others. Although Lin Xian cultivated the Imperial Sutra, could he really open the fourth stellar gate? Lin Xian arrived in front of the fourth astral gate. He could feel a mysterious power. In the next moment, he punched out with the 6 Dao fists, and a terrifying aura blasted forward. He pressed forward courageously, causing the starry gate to shake. The light on the gate of stars dimmed, but it did not crack. Lin Xian didn't care. He pushed his divine body to its limits, and the terrifying flames on it soared into the sky. The 9 yang divine palms slapped forward, pushing forward. At this moment, the entire Nebula Palace shook violently. Boom! 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 Countless explosions sounded, and the fourth stellar gate was slowly opened. Everyone exclaimed. Too strong. Was the 9 yang divine body already so strong? Yi Wudao and the others were also shocked. He was extremely surprised by Brother Lin's physique. The Golden Crow race was even more terrified. They could feel the powerful sun energy on the divine body. There were also some light purple flames. Those flames made them extremely terrified. Lin Xian's 9-yang divine body had fused with the purple yang divine fire, so it had become abnormally terrifying. He only used the power of his physique to open the fourth stellar gate. He really did it. Kun Pingzi and the others were shocked. Yao Guang's face turned ugly. He said that no one could do it, but now Lin Xian did it. Han Tian furrowed his brows. Did another person do it? It seemed like he had underestimated the other party. He didn't expect such an interesting person to appear. 9-yang divine body and heaven-devouring demonic art. These two people were worthy of his main body making a move. Yao Guang snorted coldly. So what if you open it? At most, you will be on par with me. You won't be able to enter. The others were also nervous. Murong Qingqing and the others were pale. Yes, opening it didn't mean that they could enter. When they opened it, they felt an incomparably terrifying aura. Even the two elders from the Nebula Immortal platform were excited. They looked forward and said loudly. If they could enter the fourth stellar gate, then there was a trace of hope to reach the Emperor realm. When these words were said, countless people were in an uproar. Reach the Emperor realm. Could it be that they would become an Emperor realm? Heavens, the fourth stellar gate was so important. The elder from the Nebula Immortal platform said that there was such a possibility, but it didn't mean that they would really become an Emperor realm. Although that was the case, it was already very shocking. Because the others didn't even have a chance. Kun Pingzi and the others gritted their teeth. Didn't this mean that he couldn't become an Emperor realm? Damn it, was his limit only the peak of the Great Sage realm? He wasn't willing. Gu Feng and the others also had ugly expressions. Han Tian snorted coldly. If my main body was here, I would definitely be able to enter the fourth stellar gate and obtain a trace of hope. Yao Guang's expression was even more serious. My strength isn't enough. I need to devour a few emperors. This way, I will be able to enter the fourth stellar gate. Then, he looked at Lin Xian. Could that kid do it? Although he didn't believe it, he still had to pay attention. At this moment, everyone was paying attention to Lin Xian. Lin Xian also took a deep breath. If he walked forward, he would have the hope of becoming an Emperor realm. Although it was only a hope, Lin Xian wouldn't miss it. The 9-yang divine flames on his body became even more terrifying. 6 suns and even the yin-yang taiji diagram appeared and revolved in front of him. Lin Xian walked forward. In the next moment, he felt a huge pressure. It was as if a pair of invisible hands had stopped him. Now, he finally understood why Yao Guang was so angry. The reason for that was because there was indeed a mysterious power blocking his path. He shouted coldly, and an extremely terrifying killing intent erupted from his eyes. Kill! With an angry roar, the demonic aura on his body surged into the sky. It was as if he had transformed into a demon god, incomparably powerful. Boom boom. An earth-shaking sound rang out, as if 2 heavenly gods were fighting. The invisible power was bombarded by Lin Xian, emitting tens of thousands of thunderbolts. At this moment, everyone became nervous. Yao Guang was even more nervous. Previously, he couldn't achieve this effect. But this kid could. Damn it, was the other party stronger than him? But so what if he was stronger? He didn't believe that the other party had the possibility of becoming an emperor. Lin Xian could feel that the demonic aura on his body was being suppressed. He shouted angrily, and all kinds of ultimate techniques and laws appeared one after another. Lin Xian forcefully tore open a path. At the same time, an extremely terrifying light erupted from his eyes. No one can stop me from walking the path I want to walk. Heaven-splitting sword. Chapter 52-34. The sword was so sharp that it split the heavens and earth. The formless hands in front of him were also torn apart. Lin Xian took a step forward. He entered the fourth palace. Heavens, he did it. He really did it. Countless exclamations sounded. Everyone went crazy at this moment. Impossible. Gu Feng roared crazily. Kunping Zi's face turned ugly. Yao Guang's eyes were filled with killing intent. How was this possible? He actually went in. Could it be that he really had a chance to become a great emperor? Damn it, his talent was too good. The people from the Purple Mansion roared. No, he was from the Immortal Graveyard. How could he do this? That's great. Murong Qingqing was overjoyed. Yan Ryu also heaved a sigh of relief. Fire Dragon Lady and the others were even more excited. They had always supported Lin Xian. They did it because Lin Xian had a chance to become a great emperor. Now, Lin Xian finally showed such talent. He entered the fourth starry door and had a chance to become a great emperor. Did he really succeed? Even the two elders on the Nebula Immortal Plateau were stunned. To be honest, they didn't believe that anyone could succeed. After all, the possibility of becoming a great emperor was already very heaven-defying. Many old ancestors and great sage had lived for thousands of years, but they didn't have such a chance. Now, it was happening to a young man. They couldn't stop staring at Lin Xian. When Lin Xian entered the fourth palace, he also felt a mysterious aura. The great path around him kept tumbling. It was so magical. Lin Xian looked around curiously. At this moment, he realized that the front seemed to have turned into a starry sky. This was no longer a palace. It had turned into a galaxy of stars. Lin Xian stood in the universe. This feeling was too magical. Lin Xian continued to walk forward. However, the further he walked, the greater the pressure he felt. In the end, his sword energy was shattered. The laws on his body also cracked. He retreated and spat out a mouthful of blood. However, at this moment, a demonic shadow formed behind him. The demonic figure stood there quietly, holding the world in place. Lin Xian heaved a sigh of relief as the pressure around him lessened. He walked forward for a while, sat down cross-legged, and began to cultivate. Countless people were waiting. Among them, the imperial princes were still in shock. They were all young giants. Even if there was a gap between them, it wouldn't be too big. Even someone as powerful as a light-shaking realm cultivator hadn't been able to enter the fourth layer, but someone had actually managed to do so. Lin Xian, Lin Wudi. Many people were worried, and some of them even had killing intent in their eyes. When he came out, it seemed like someone wanted to make a move. Lin Xian sat there cross-legged. The laws on his body became incomparably mysterious. He was cultivating. At the same time, he opened the sword world. The stars here were so mysterious, they could provide the sword world with the power of the stars. After he opened it, the sword world began to absorb endless starlight, turning into a river of stars that spiraled in the sky. However, the power absorbed by the sword world was truly too much. In the end, endless nebulas churned in the fourth layer of the palace. Even the entire nebula palace began to shake violently. The people outside were still waiting. When Lin Xian came out, someone wanted to make a move. Suddenly, the nebula palace in front of him shook violently. A terrifying light erupted, and a terrifying aura swept through the world. Many people were sent flying, vomiting blood. What was going on? The others also reacted and retreated one after another. It was as if they were facing a great enemy. They looked forward. The two elders on the Nebula Immortal platform were also stunned. What happened? They had never encountered such a change before. Damn it, what did that kid do inside? I don't know. Quickly. Report to our palace master. The two elders quickly transmitted their voices. Not long after, the void split open, and a few figures walked out. Their auras were even stronger. There were even peak great sage cultivators who came. After these people arrived, their pupils constricted. What was going on in the Nebula Palace? Reporting to Palace Master, we don't know. The Palace Master of the Starfall Immortal platform was an extremely terrifying existence. His eyes erupted with a cold starlight as he stared fixedly at the Starfall Immortal Palace. His gaze pierced through the universe, wanting to see the situation inside. However, he discovered a demonic figure standing there. It suddenly turned around and shattered his gaze. He closed his eyes and took a few steps back. His expression became incomparably ugly. There were even tears of blood flowing down from his eyes. Palace Master, what happened to you? The surrounding elders were incomparably nervous. Even their Palace Master was injured. The others were in an uproar. Someone said that an accident had happened in the Starfall Palace. That Lin Xian wouldn't have died inside, right? It was extremely possible. The moment these words came out, many people's eyes lit up. Gu Feng sneered. It would be best if he died inside. Yao Guang's eyes flickered. If the other party died, he must obtain the other party's corpse and swallow Lin Wudi. He might become a double champion. At that time, he would sweep through the world. Who would be his match? Murong Qingqing and Yan Ryu became nervous. They came to the front and said, "Greetings, seniors. Is Brother Xian still inside? Is he in danger? What happened in the Starfall Palace? Seniors, please take action." The Starfall Palace Master still had his eyes closed. He said, "Is the person inside your friend?" Murong Qingqing nodded. That's right, he had already entered the fourth palace. However, they didn't expect such a change. What? The fourth palace. The new elders were also shocked. Didn't that mean that the brat had the possibility of becoming a great emperor? Who was he? His name was Lin Xian, Lin Wudi. Yan Ryu said. The eyes of Lin Wudi and the other elders flickered. The Starfall Palace Master was also shocked. I have his information. He is an incredible person. However, he is someone from the Immortal Graveyard. How could he come here? Moreover, he has the possibility of becoming a great emperor. That shouldn't be. The people from the Immortal Graveyard couldn't even become saints. How could he have the qualifications to become a great emperor? However, the other party had reached the fourth palace. This miraculous change caused these top experts to be stunned for a moment. Senior, is Brother Xian in danger? Murong Qingqing was nervous. She couldn't help but want to go in. The Starfall Palace Master said, "Don't act rashly. Although I don't know why this change happened, I used my divine ability. Just now, I used my great divine ability to take a look. There is indeed someone sitting there cultivating. He doesn't seem to have died. He didn't die. Really? That's great." Murong Qingqing heaved a sigh of relief. Even the great sage said so. Then it must be like this. Thank you, senior. They only needed to wait patiently. When the others heard this, they were extremely disappointed. He didn't die. Then I'll kill him with my own hands. They were still waiting here. Gu Feng, Yao Guang and the others were all ready to kill. Some experts from the Gemini clan and the dragons were also waiting secretly. Chapter 52-35. Everyone was waiting for Lin Xian to appear, but they didn't know that something even more shocking was yet to come. Lin Xian activated Sword World and absorbed the star energy in Starfall Hall, causing a mysterious light to appear in the sky of Sword World. However, the amount of energy required by Sword World was too much. Even the fallen Star Hall was unable to endure the enormous devouring and absorption. It shook violently. At the next moment, a low voice rang out. It was like a clap of thunder, shaking everyone's soul. Then, a blurry figure appeared in Starcloud Hall. This figure was abnormally hazy and illusory, but it was incomparably terrifying. It was like a god looking down on the common people. Some people were so frightened that their faces turned pale. They couldn't help but want to kneel down. What was this? Many people were terrified. Overlord roared towards the sky. Bailey Wuk gritted his teeth. Kuanping Zi exclaimed. Why do I feel a trace of the Great Emperor's aura? At this moment, everyone was stunned. What did Lin Xian do inside? Why did such a terrifying change occur? The people of Starfall Immortal Hall were also stunned. What was going on? The Hall Master's pupils shrank. Could it be that this was an illusion of the ancestor? Heavens! Those elders also exclaimed. He could actually summon the illusion of the ancestor of Starfall Immortal Hall. Starfall Hall was a supreme treasure of their immortal foundation. It was extremely mysterious and was built by their ancestor. And their ancestor was someone from the Yuhua Immortal Dynasty. The Yuhua Immortal Dynasty back then wasn't something that could be compared to now. It was someone who stood at the peak of the universe. How terrifying was such a person? Later on, the Yuhua Immortal Dynasty was destroyed and sealed. Many immortal foundations were formed. Their Starfall Immortal Foundation was one of them. They had always been in control of Starfall Hall. Legend had it that Starfall Hall contained the secrets left behind by their ancestor. However, only those who could summon the illusion of their ancestor would be able to obtain the supreme secret. They had been trying for tens of thousands of years, but no one had ever succeeded. This made them think that the legend was fake. But now, someone actually summoned the illusion of their ancestor. And it was an outsider. This was too inconceivable. Could it be that this Lin Xian had such an inconceivable fate with their Starfall Immortal Foundation? Inside the Fallen Star Hall, Lin Xian was also stunned. The sudden appearance of a figure made him feel as if he was facing a great enemy. He quickly closed the world, but the hazy star figure stared fixedly at the Sword World, as if it wanted to enter. However, he did not dare to do so. In the end, he sighed. That hazy figure slowly disappeared. However, a ring fell from the sky. It was the star ring. It was incomparably deep, as if it had merged with an entire universe. It floated in front of Lin Xian. Lin Xian was surprised. He used his soul spirit to examine it carefully and found that there was no danger. He then took it. What exactly happened? Lin Xian didn't understand. However, when he received the star ring, he felt a mysterious aura being emitted from the ring. He seemed to be able to absorb it. It was too mystical. This star ring was equivalent to fusing with the power of the Starfall Hall. In the next moment, Lin Xian felt a pair of invisible hands pushing him away. He knew that he must have used the Sword World to absorb too much power, causing a change in the Starfall Hall. In order to protect himself, the Starfall Hall did not allow him to stay here. He bowed deeply toward the void, expressing his thanks. Then, he turned around and left. When the people outside saw Lin Xian come out, they cried out in alarm. Was he going to make a move? Their eyes flickered. Gu Feng, Yao Guang and the others prepared to make a move. At this moment, the people from the Starfall Immortal platform walked up. The one leading them was the Hall Master. The group of them walked forward. Everyone was surprised. Even the Starfall Immortal platform was going to make a move. Many people sneered. They could kill with a borrowed knife. Murong Qingqing and Yan Ryu were both nervous. They hurried to Lin Xian's side. The Starfall Hall Master said, "Young Master, don't be nervous. We have no ill intentions. Young Master, have you seen our old ancestor? Does Young Master have some sort of relationship with our Starfall Hall?" Voices sounded one after another. Lin Xian was puzzled. Old ancestor. Could it be that hazy figure? Thinking of this, he said, "I've obtained a ring." When they saw that ring, the bodies of the surrounding elders trembled. The vast aura of stars on it was definitely an item from their Starfall Immortal platform. It was very likely that it was left behind by their old ancestor. Thinking of this, an elder instantly stretched out his hand and grabbed forward. This sudden change caused everyone to cry out in alarm. Lin Xian also frowned. The heavenly hand grabbed the ring. But at the next moment, a miserable scream rang out. The hand was broken apart and blood dripped down. The ring spun and flew back to Lin Xian's side. What was going on? The elder who attacked was dumbfounded. The Starfall Hall Master roared. "You were too reckless. Who allowed you to attack?" Quickly apologized to young Master Lin. That elder recovered his arm and lowered his head. "Young Master Lin, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have attacked." The Starfall Hall Master also said, "Young Master Lin, please don't take offense." They were too agitated. Lin Xian was also stunned. Then, he smiled. It seemed that this ring was specially made for him. He took it and wore it on the thumb of his right hand. Then, he smiled. "It's fine. Was that astral phantom your old ancestor? He was the one who gave me this ring. Do you need me to return it to you?" The Starfall Hall Master shook his head. "No need. Since you've obtained the recognition of our old ancestor, we naturally wouldn't dare to be impudent. From today onwards, you're the young master of our Starfall Immortal platform." The moment these words came out, Murong Qingqing and Yan Ryu were stunned. Even Lin Xian was stunned. It seemed that he had underestimated the use of this ring. The other elders were also stunned. They wanted to say something, but the Starfall Hall Master said loudly, "In the future, when you see young Master Lin, it's the same as seeing me. If anyone dares to disrespect him, don't blame the Starfall Immortal platform for punishing them according to the sect rules." Yes. Although those elders were puzzled, they didn't dare to disobey the orders of the Hall Master. The surrounding people were in an uproar. What was the meaning of this? Why did Lin Xian become the young master of the Starfall Immortal platform in the blink of an eye? Wasn't this change too great? Some people were gritting their teeth. However, the Starfall Hall Master coldly spoke. "Whoever dares to make a move against young Master Lin would be making an enemy out of our Starfall Immortal platform." The moment these words came out, the scalps of the surrounding people turned numb. Although they were powerful, the Starfall Immortal platform was even more terrifying. In addition, this was their territory. For a period of time, no one dared to make a move. The Starfall Hall Master glanced at Lin Xian. "Young Master, can you return with us? We will definitely treat young Master well." Lin Xian replied, "I still have some things to do. Let's do it another day." He also didn't know what the Starfall Hall Master was planning. Hence, he wasn't willing to go there easily. The Starfall Hall Master didn't mind. "All right then. Young Master Lin, you go ahead and do your things. If you need anything, feel free to come to the Starfall Immortal platform." Chapter 5236. Next, the Falling Star Hall Master sent a few elders to escort Lin Xian and the others back. In addition to the previous warning, no one dared to make a move. However, this matter did spread out. Because it was too unbelievable. In an instant, the entire Yuhua ancient city knew about it. Everyone was talking about it. On the other side, the elders of the Falling Star Immortal platform were also confused. Why did the Hall Master respect that kid? Was he really that powerful? That's right, he's just a young man. No matter how powerful he was, could he overturn the heavens? That ring was left behind by our ancestor. We must take it back. However, the Falling Star Hall Master said, "Shut up. What do you know? When the star ring appeared, I used my bloodline to communicate with it. I even took out the Hall Master's token. However, I couldn't get his approval. However, that Lin Xian got his approval." What did that mean? It meant that our ancestor trusted him and didn't trust us. Get this straight. That's our ancestor, but he trusted an outsider. This meant that Lin Xian must have some secrets. Therefore, we must respect him. A person that our ancestor trusted would never be wrong. Moreover, didn't he enter the 4th floor of the Falling Star Hole? That was the qualification to become a great emperor. He might really become a great emperor in the future. Hearing this, the surrounding elders were also shocked. Although they were the descendants of the Yuhua immortal dynasty, at this age, a great emperor was a great emperor. A great emperor was too heaven-defying. It was enough for them to reach new heights. Your Highness, don't worry. We'll treat him with respect in the future. The Falling Star Immortal platform was prepared to respect Lin Xian. However, the other immortal platforms were in an uproar. They didn't understand why the Falling Star Immortal platform had such an attitude. They investigated many ways, but in the end, they couldn't find anything. Even the 9-star immortal platforms were stunned. They asked Lin Xian. Lin Xian smiled but didn't say anything. They could only treat him well. In the quiet courtyard, Lin Xian sat by the lake. He looked at the star ring in his hand and narrowed his eyes. The mysterious star ring and the Falling Star Immortal platform's strange attitude confused him. He had carefully inspected it, and had also asked the Hellfire Dragon to inspect the ring. There shouldn't be any hidden danger. She just wanted to stay by his side. This made him very suspicious. After thinking about it, he felt that it was most likely related to the Sword World. After all, the Hellfire Dragon was so arrogant before. However, after seeing the Sword World, he was unwilling to leave. This showed that this world was incomparably mystical. It was very likely that it would completely exceed Lin Xian's imagination. As for the astral ancestor, perhaps he also knew how terrifying this world was. However, he had already fallen and was unable to enter the Sword World. He could only leave the keepsake ring by Lin Xian's side. Perhaps he wanted Lin Xian to take care of the Starfall Immortal platform. Since that was the case, Lin Xian accepted it without hesitation. In any case, the Divine Union really needed other allies. It would be best if they could form an alliance with the Fallen Star Immortal platform. He could borrow the power of the Starfall Immortal platform to search for fortuitous encounters in the Yuhua Immortal dynasty. In the future, once he truly became an immortal emperor, he would help the Starfall Immortal Foundation to stand at the peak. Therefore, Lin Xian did not dwell on it. After forming seals with his palms, Lin Xian continued to cultivate. Previously, from the 4th level, he felt that his nomological laws had improved a lot. Now, he wanted to consolidate his comprehension of the Great Tao. Although ordinary geniuses were no match for him now. Even the Emperor's son was no match for him. However, Lin Xian knew that he could not be careless. The two newcomers, one of them a light-shaking realm cultivator, shocked him. The other party's demonic heaven-devouring technique was improving every moment. If the other party swallowed a few more geniuses, he might surpass him. The other one, who shocked him even more, was Hun Tian. The double champion had appeared. If the other party's original body came, how terrifying would it be? Lin Xian began to cultivate with all his might. His strength was also increasing steadily. In fact, it was not only him. After returning from the Starfall Hall, the young powerhouses and supreme beings all began to cultivate in seclusion. Their strength had also increased greatly compared to before they had come. At the same time, another matter spread. It was about Lin Xian. Previously, the Starfall Hall could test the qualifications to become a great emperor. In other words, reaching the 4th level meant that one had the qualifications to become a great emperor. Although it was only a slight possibility, it was much more powerful than nothing. For tens of thousands of years, no one had been able to reach the 4th level. But now, someone had done it. A twinkle brilliance had opened the 4th astral door, which was shocking. More importantly, Lin Xian had really reached the 4th level, which shocked countless people. This guy had the qualifications to become a great emperor. At the same time, a list quickly spread in the ancient city. Yen Ryu frowned and came to the courtyard with a scroll. She said, "Oh no." Lin Xian turned his head and said, "What's the matter?" Yen Ryu walked over and opened the scroll. "Take a look." On the other side, Murong Qingqing also came and asked curiously, "What is this?" She realized that there were multicolored lights dancing on the scroll. Lin Xian's name was written in flamboyant handwriting. And only Lin Xian's name was written. Brother Xian. Only him. "What's this?" Yen Ryu said, "Young Paragon ranking." Young Paragon. Lin Xian frowned. This was something that the Dragon Prince had organized before. However, Yen Ryu had said that the Dragon Prince from before had only formed a battle in his own name. And he had lost in the end. But it was different now. This ranking had spread throughout the entire Yuhua ancient city, and it was created by the people of the Yuhua immortal dynasty. And it was recorded in history. It wasn't something that only existed now. It had existed tens of thousands of years ago. There were even young great emperors who had entered the young paragon ranking. For example, the Azure Emperor. And the Battle Emperor. Your ancestor. Lin Xian was shocked. Yen Ryu nodded. That's right, my ancestor, the Azure Emperor, had been here before. And he had entered the Starfall Hall. He had even reached the 4th level and entered the young paragon ranking. Later, he really became a great emperor. However, there were very few people who could enter the young paragon ranking. Now, the paragon ranking is open, and only your name is on it. What about the others? For example, Yao Guang, Huntian, or Kuanpingzi? Lin Xian asked. These people were not weak. They were all at the emperor level. Yen Ryu said that these people were called young paragons on another ranking. There was a huge difference between paragons and paragons. In other words, this ranking showed that Lin Xian was currently above all the geniuses. He could be said to be the number 1 genius. Murong Qingqing frowned after hearing this. This was not good. Wouldn't this make Brother Xian the enemy of everyone? Who was it that was so vicious? Yen Ryu sighed. It was indeed not good. That was because there were too many old enemies on this list. From now on, all the young geniuses would treat Lin Xian as an enemy. They would even use all kinds of methods to achieve their goal. Chapter 52-37. Although Lin Xian had entered the 4th level, it didn't mean that the others didn't have the qualifications. For example, the Double Crown King's main body wasn't here. If his main body was here, there was a high chance that he could enter the 4th level. There was also the light-shaking realm, who opened the door to the 4th level. Although he didn't enter the 4th level, as long as he swallowed a few more people, he could definitely enter. These people also had the qualifications to become Grand Elders, but none of them were on the sovereign list. It was obvious that someone didn't want them to go up. Someone was probably targeting Lin Xian. Lin Xian naturally understood this as well. He smirked coldly. Making an enemy of the entire world. What a good method. It was probably those people who did it. He guessed that it was either the 10,000 Dragon Dynasty, the Gu clan, or the light-shaking realm. It was even very likely that it was Yao Guang. After all, Yao Guang had displayed the demonic heaven-devouring art. That was truly becoming enemies with the world. But now, all the spearheads were pointing at him. Basically, no one cared about Yao Guang. What about Big Brother Xian? Should he clarify? It was very dangerous now. After all, there were too many geniuses in the ancient city. If a few of them worked together, Lin Xian would really be in danger. No need. A sovereign is a sovereign. Why should I be afraid? I really want the title of the #1 genius of the younger generation. So what if I become enemies with the world? Lin Xian's eyes shone with a shocking light. Right, there was one more thing. Yan Ryu said that the deity hall was also here. Lin Xian was also happy after hearing this. Was that so? It had been a long time since he saw them. He would find a chance to see them. Lin Xian decided to finish cultivating first and then go to the deity hall to take a look. The deity hall was left to him by old Xia. He didn't know if old Xia had returned. Lin Xian and Xia Jiuyo went to the underworld. In the end, Xia Jiuyo left alone and his whereabouts were still unknown. While Lin Xian was cultivating, on the Clearwood Immortal platform, which was also one of the immortal platforms in the ancient city, belonged to the Yuhua Immortal Dynasty. On a cliff on the clear immortal platform, the scenery was beautiful. A towering pine tree. It had grown for thousands of years. There were 2 figures sitting on the stone platform in front of him. One of them was dressed in a green robe and had the demeanor of a transcendent being. He leaned against a pine tree as if he was an old man who had ascended to immortality. The other person's aura was hazy and mysterious. He was none other than Hun Tian. Hun Tian looked at the old man in front of him and said, "Senior Qingmu, try the tea I brought back. This tea is carefully cultivated by the Hundan tribe and contains an extremely strong Hundan qi. It was extremely useful for one's comprehension of the Great Path." In front of Hun Tian, there was an exquisite box with a few tea leaves in it. As expected, they were surrounded by a chaotic aura. They formed mysterious runes. At this moment, another woman walked over from afar. She was dressed in green and had an extremely beautiful appearance. She walked over slowly with a teapot in her hand and placed the chaos leaf inside. Suddenly, a terrifying aura of chaos shot up into the sky. The azure-robed woman was shocked. Ancestor Qing Mu's eyes were also shining. Previously, he had only heard rumors that the Epiphany leaf contained a mysterious Great Tao. Obtaining one would allow one to comprehend the Great Tao. It was just that he was too mysterious, so he couldn't meet him. But now that I've seen this primal chaos leaf, I've gained a deep understanding of it. Even if it's not as good as the Epiphany leaf, it's not too far off. Hearing this, the corners of Hun Tian's mouth curled up. "Grandpa Qingmu, you're flattering me. It's far from being as good as the Epiphany leaf." Although he said that, his eyes were filled with pride. Ancestor Qingmu picked up the teacup and took a sip. The laws around him danced. He nodded. "Good tea." Hun Tian smiled. If Grandpa Qingmu likes it, I'll bring more in the future. Ancestor Qingmu said, this gift is too valuable. I'm afraid I can't accept it. Hun Tian said, Grandpa Qingmu, you're too humble. You're standing at the peak of the great sage and are only one step away from the divine emperor realm. If you can't accept it, who can? Ancestor Qingmu shook his head. I'm old and there's no hope. My hope is still on you young people. Nephew, you've reached the double crown at such a young age. Such talent is rare. There's a great chance for you to reach the divine emperor realm in the future. Even if you meet those princes, you might be able to suppress them. Hun Tian's eyes lit up. He said, although those princes have shocking bloodlines, they haven't experienced any hardships. They're usually protected too well. When they encounter a real battle of life and death, they won't be able to do anything. For example, the Dragon Prince. No matter how heaven-defying his bloodline is, he was still killed in the end. The Kuinpeng, the Purple Qilin, and the Phoenix Girl all have shocking bloodlines, but I don't think they'll be able to reach the Divine Emperor realm in the future. At this moment, the woman who was brewing tea nodded and said, I heard that recently, a terrifying guy has appeared. He cultivates the demonic sky-devouring technique. He has devoured many geniuses and even knows some divine abilities and bloodlines of divine emperors. This person is very dangerous. Even Ancestor Qingmu's eyes flashed with a cold light when he heard those words. The demonic sky-devouring technique was a divine emperor divine ability. It had been sealed as a forbidden martial art more than 100,000 years ago. No one was allowed to cultivate it. I didn't expect that someone would take the risk. Isn't he afraid of becoming enemies with the world? The demonic sky-devouring technique was strong, but it was an evil technique after all. It wasn't his own strength. Even if he devoured it, it would be difficult for him to reach his peak. Hun Tian snorted coldly. Compared to the demonic sky-devouring technique, I'm more concerned about another person. Speaking of this, his eyes flashed with a hint of sharpness. Oh, who is it? The woman and the old man were both surprised. Hun Tian said. Of course, he was talking about Lin Wudi. He was in the limelight. He had reached the 4th level of Nebula Palace and was qualified to be a divine emperor. He had also successfully made it to the supreme leaderboard. That was enough to suppress everyone else. Hearing this name, even Ancestor Qingmu fell silent and nodded slightly. This person is indeed in the limelight now. I didn't expect that someone else would be able to make it to the supreme leaderboard. It was said that Lin Wudi didn't have the bloodline of a divine emperor, nor did he seem to be from a powerful family. It's really rare for someone to rise from the ashes and reach such a level. The woman said as she poured tea. Although he's powerful, he hasn't met you yet. If your original body makes a move, you can suppress him instantly. It won't be a problem for you to reach the 4th level. Of course. Hun Tian said proudly, his eyes flashing with confidence. However, he also said that his original body was cultivating a supreme divine ability. He was still in seclusion and couldn't come out for the time being. He was also very depressed about this matter. If his original body came out, who would dare to be arrogant in front of him? At this moment, Ancestor Qingmu also said. Although he had the possibility of becoming a divine emperor, he was still thousands of miles away from becoming one. Since ancient times, there were very few people who were qualified to become a divine emperor. However, after hundreds of thousands of years, there were still many who were qualified to become one. However, only a few people became divine emperors in the end. There were even some who didn't have a divine emperor in tens of thousands of years. It was too difficult to become a divine emperor. Even Hun Tian understood this point. He said that even if he couldn't become a true divine emperor, if he could take the first step and become a divine emperor, he would be an invincible existence that could sweep across the world. Speaking of this, he changed the topic. Grandpa Qingmu, back then, there was a woman on the Qingmu Divine platform who had unparalleled talent. She eventually reached the peak of the great sage. She even wanted to take that crucial step. However, she was defeated and severely injured. In the end, she died unexpectedly. And that person had a great relationship with the heavenly court. Chapter 52:38. Hearing this, old ancestor Greenwood's expression changed and his gaze became gloomy. Hun Tian was right. Before their Greenwood immortal platform, there was indeed a person. That person's talent was too good and countless people looked forward to it. Even if that person couldn't become a great emperor, he would be able to walk out of the sage realm and become a quasi-emperor. He would be able to let their Greenwood immortal platform regain its glory. However, it was a pity that in that era, there was another person who suddenly rose up and swept through everything. In the end, that person fought with their immortal platform's genius. The two fought. In the end, their genius was defeated. That person successfully stepped into the great emperor realm and became a quasi-emperor. In the end, he even broke through and became a great emperor. As for their proud daughter of heaven, after hearing this, she was angered to death. This made their immortal platform feel despair. That was their best chance to rise to glory, but it was interrupted. However, they were forcefully interrupted, and they didn't dare to take revenge at all. Because that person became a great emperor, a battle emperor. He was also the last great emperor. After the battle emperor, no one had become a great emperor in all these years. Thinking of these past events, old ancestor Greenwood sighed. There was no need to talk about the past. Hun Tian said, "Our ancestors said that the reason why we couldn't become a great emperor in the past was because of the power of heaven and earth. However, in this era, the world changed greatly and ushered in a golden era for cultivation. This time, there would definitely be someone who could become a great emperor. Many people would even walk out of the sage realm and become quasi-emperors. This was an excellent opportunity. Grandpa Greenwood, don't you want to take revenge? Don't you want to recreate glory? Actually, there's no need for the Greenwood immortal platform. We just need to work together. That Lin Wudi is definitely not my match. Also, I came here with another purpose, which is to integrate the quintessential world. You also know that the quintessential world has recovered and countless geniuses and experts have appeared. However, it's still lacking compared to the buried Emperor Star. Most importantly, those great emperors were all buried in the buried Emperor Star. Clearly, those great emperors came from the quintessential world. They were our ancestors. Therefore, the graveyard where they were buried is also ours. That place has the inheritance resources and treasures of the great emperors." Hearing this, Ancestor Qingmu's eyes shone with a cold light. "Do you have a plan?" The tomb of a great emperor was a land of death. Ordinary people could not enter at all. Furthermore, the buried Emperor Star had many emperor races. If they were to go there rashly, it would probably lead to a great battle. Grandpa Aoki, don't worry about that. We are already preparing for it. As long as we integrate the power of the true spirit world, we'll be able to go. At that time, the old ancestor of our primal chaos clan will also go. So what if those monarch clans oppose? Ancestor Qingmu gasped. Was the primal chaos ancestor going to make a move as well? It was too unbelievable. That was because he knew that the old master of the Hundun tribe was no ordinary person. He was an existence that was even more terrifying than them. It was a quasi-emperor. In this world, the peak of the great sage was the old ancestor. He could sweep through everything. This was an era when the great emperors did not appear. Actually, above that were quasi-emperors. Previously, on the buried Emperor's star, a quasi-emperor had appeared and swept through the place, suppressing the 10,000 dragon dynasty to the point where they could not raise their heads. In addition to that quasi-emperor, some other ancient clans and sects also had quasi-emperors. However, the number of these quasi-emperors was very small. Usually, they would not appear. However, if they really wanted to become a great emperor, then perhaps these legendary figures would appear. Ancestor Qing Mu thought for a long time and said, if the quasi-emperors of the Hundan tribe are willing to help, then we are willing to form an alliance and provide a strong chance of survival. They knew that the Hundan tribe was looking for their immortal platforms because of their strong vitality. If they wanted to enter the tomb of a great emperor, there would be great danger and they might die. If they brought a shocking amount of vitality, they might be able to return safely. This was also the core value of their greenwood immortal platforms. Alright, thank you, Grandpa Qing Mu. When I am ready, I will come to pay you a visit. Han Tianzhan stood up and turned to leave. Looking at his departing figure, Ancestor Qing Mu's eyes flickered. The woman beside him also stood up. She said, Old Ancestor, are you really going to join forces with him? Also, are we really going to attack the Heavenly Court again? You are talking about that Lin Wudi, right? Don't worry, we don't need to do anything. Han Tianzhan will do it. As the Double Crown King, he only received the title of a young powerhouse. On the other hand, Lin Wudi was a supreme being. Han Tianzhan definitely couldn't tolerate it. He would make a move sooner or later. As for the alliance, we have to make preparations. Lin Wudi can be ignored, but we must enter the tomb of a great emperor. Maybe he was right. In this era, a great emperor was going to appear. Even if we can't produce a great emperor this time, we must produce a boundary emperor. At this point, his eyes shone brightly. He had been at the peak of the great sage for 3,000 years, but he couldn't take another step forward. He was once in despair, but Han Tianzhan's words today gave him hope. If he could get an opportunity, then he would definitely be able to take a crucial step forward. To become a boundary emperor. In that way, he could personally restore the glory of the pure cleansing immortal platform. On the other side, Han Tianzhan walked out and left the Greenwood Immortal Palace. His eyes shone brightly as if he had become a king looking down on the world. Greetings, young master. The four figures in front of him knelt on one knee. They also had the aura of primal chaos. They were from the Hundan tribe. Han Tianzhan nodded. How are the preparations? Everything is ready. Next, we can go and invite those people. One of them said respectfully. Han Tianzhan nodded. Good. Also, help me contact the people from the 10,000 Dragon Court. I want to cooperate with them. Han Tianzhan knew that to enter the buried Emperor's star, he had to find someone to cooperate with. The 10,000 Dragon Court was a very good partner. He had to get in touch with them in advance. His figure flashed and he disappeared into the void like a bolt of lightning. The Yuhua ancient city was in turmoil. Lin Xian had been silently cultivating. On this day, he opened his eyes and the laws on his body slowly disappeared. The corners of his mouth curled up into a smile. He had already completely refined the benefits he had obtained in the Nebula Palace. His strength had also increased compared to before, and even his cultivation base had increased. He was now one step closer to the middle stage of the Great Sage. He prepared to head to the Divine Palace. Seeing that Murong Qingqing and Yan Ryu were still in seclusion, he left a voice transmission and didn't disturb them. Instead, he turned and walked outside. He summoned Yunyu. Yunyu was here. At this moment, she was even more mysterious. She was like a high and mighty queen of the 9 heavens. However, when she came in front of Lin Xian, she bowed respectfully. Greetings, master. Lin Xian nodded and said, "Come with me." "Yes." Chapter 52-39. Young master, where are we going? Yunyu asked curiously. Lin Xian said that they were going to the shrine. The people from the shrine had also come to the Rain Feather ancient city. Yan Ryu had already found out the exact location, and so did Lin Xian. Hence, they had to go there directly this time. In the southern region of the Rain Feather ancient city, there was a mansion that was majestic and gave off an ancient aura. This was where the shrine had settled down. To be able to live in such a place, the shrine must have developed well over the years. They must have nurtured a group of top experts. How were Peacock and Xing Tian doing? Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and walked forward. Yunyu was also shocked when she saw this. It was a mysterious place. The people who lived here must have extraordinary power. That was for sure. To be able to settle down in a place like this, even if they were not Immortal Foundation experts, they must be from top clans in other places. Laughter came from the side. Lin Xian and the others turned around. In the distance, a fire demon wolf flew down from the sky. The flames on it were extremely terrifying. It was obvious that it was a mutated beast of heaven and earth. Its strength and cultivation were extremely terrifying. But at this moment, there was a man sitting on the back of the flaming demon wolf. He was wearing battle armor and looked extremely valiant. His figure was not very burly. But when he raised his hand, it was filled with unparalleled power. It was obvious that he was also a top genius. He was the one who spoke earlier. Lin Xian looked at him and said indifferently, "Are you here too?" That man walked down from the alluring demon's back and said, "Naturally, I am an old friend of the shrine." After speaking, he glanced at Lin Xian with disdain in his eyes. The person in front of him looked unfamiliar and he did not know him at all. He should not have any status. He should have come to the shrine to ask for help. But he was different. He had an equal relationship with the shrine because his status was not ordinary. He was a top genius of the four symbols sacred ground called Xiang Fei. The sacred ground was no longer the sacred ground of the past. The previous sacred ground did not even have a sage. But as the spatial tunnel between the buried Emperor Star opened, the energy of the buried Emperor Star poured in. This caused the true spirit world to undergo earth-shaking changes. Now that true spirit world was filled with saints, their sacred ground naturally rose in status. It had reached an unimaginable height. Even when compared to the peerless great sects of the buried Emperor Star, they weren't inferior. Thinking of this, little Elephant Fei became even more proud. He directly ignored Lin Xian and looked to the side. When he saw Yunyu, he was also stunned. This was because he realized that this woman was really extraordinary. Not only was he handsome, but his aura was also mysterious. Half of his body was sacred, while the other half carried a gloomy aura. Two completely opposite powers could perfectly fuse in one person. This was definitely an incredible martial arts legacy. This woman must be the pride of the heavens. However, why would such a person be together with an ant? He felt that it was a pity. Such a person should only be owned by an expert like him. Seeing Xiang Fei's fiery gaze, Yunyu coldly snorted and frowned. He looked at Lin Xian and said, "Young master, let's go." Lin Xian nodded and walked forward. Soon, they arrived at the front of the mansion. "Everyone, please wait." The guards of the mansion in front walked out and blocked the path. "May I know why you are here?" Lin Xian said, "I want to see Peacock and Xing Tian." The guard in front was stunned. "You mean the two elders?" "That's right." Lin Xian nodded. The guard seriously sized up Lin Xian, but he didn't recognize him. He asked, "Young master, do you have an invitation?" Lin Xian shook his head. The guard said with a cold expression, "The two elders are very busy. If you really want to see them, tell me your identity and I'll help you line up. Perhaps you can see them in a few months." At this moment, Xiang Fei walked over from behind. "You want to see Peacock Fairy? Don't you know her identity? She's an elder, a core elder. Ordinary sacred ground elders aren't qualified to see her, let alone you. Young man, I think you'd better be down to earth." He shook his head with a look of schadenfreude. Then, he walked forward. With a wave of his sleeve, he took out a token. "I'm Xiang Fei from the Four Symbols Sacred Ground. Bring me in. Tell Peacock Fairy that I have something to see her about." "So it's young Master Xiang." The guards quickly bowed and went to report. Soon, a middle-aged man walked out from inside. He was the leader of the guards. He also walked over with a smile and cupped his fists. "So it's Xiang Fei. Please come in." His gaze only fell on Xiang Fei. As for Lin Xian, he didn't care about him at all. Such a person didn't have any status and wasn't worthy of his attention. "Brother Jean, I'm here to disturb you again. I wonder if Peacock Fairy has time. I have something urgent to see her about." As he spoke, he walked inside with a smile. "Young Master Xiang is here to see Elder Peacock. Elder Peacock is indeed very busy. You also know that she needs to make many decisions. But since young Master Xiang has spoken, I will definitely recommend you." The two chatted and laughed as they walked inside. There were also many guards in the mansion. At this moment, there was a lot of discussion. "This Xiang Fei is incredible. It said that he once ate heavenly treasures when he was young. As a result, his physique became extremely strong and possessed the strength of dragons and tigers. Coupled with the body-tempering secret technique of the Four Symbols Sacred Ground, his physique is extremely strong. Although it can't be compared to legendary physiques like the 9 Yang Divine Body and Sacred Body, but below that, it's definitely the best. I heard that he's wooing our Elder Peacock. But thinking about it, only such a person is worthy of Elder Peacock." Sounds of discussion could be heard. At this moment, they hurriedly shut up because they noticed a few figures walking out from the courtyard in the distance. Among them, the one walking at the front was a woman. She wore colorful clothes and had an extremely beautiful face. At this moment, she was holding a scroll and frowning. Obviously, she was thinking about something. There were some middle-aged men and elders around her. A group of people was walking outside. When the guards on both sides saw them, they hurriedly bowed. "Greetings, Elder Peacock." "Greetings, Elder Xingtian." This was a group of elders. The others didn't dare to be careless in the slightest. Guard Jean also saw them and hurriedly bowed. "Greetings, Elder Peacock." "Greetings, elders." Xiang Fei, who was at the side, smiled and waved. "Long time no see, Peacock Fairy." Hearing someone shouting, Peacock raised her head and looked forward. In the next moment, her pupils shrank. Her body swayed and she quickly walked forward. Chapter 5240. Long time no see, Peacock Fairy. Xiang Fei smiled and walked over to greet her. He was extremely happy. "Did you see that? Peacock is running towards me. This shows how important I am to her. Next, I just need to think of a way. With my handsome looks and talent, I can definitely conquer her." Thinking of this, he was even happier. Soon, Peacock came to his side, but she didn't stop at all. She was like a gust of wind. The smile on Xiang Fei's face froze. His pupils constricted. "Damn it, what's going on?" She wasn't walking towards him, but was welcoming someone else. Why was he so happy just now? Who is it? He was immediately enraged. Who has more face than me? He wanted to see who dared to be so arrogant in front of him. He suddenly turned his head, and at the next moment, his pupils constricted and he almost jumped up. Because he realized that Peacock was walking towards that kid. That kid was stopped by the guards and couldn't even enter the door. In his eyes, such a person was just an ant. He wouldn't even look at her in the eye. He probably wouldn't be qualified to enter this residence in his lifetime. But now, Peacock was standing in front of the little ant, and she was extremely excited. She was even about to pounce on him. Damn it, who is this kid? The surrounding guards were also stunned. Does this young man have a powerful background? But why don't we know about it? The other elders also looked over one after another. Some of them were puzzled. Peacock came in front of Lin Xian, extremely excited. Young master, is it really you? This is great, am I dreaming? Xing Tian also strode over. His eyes were red. At the next moment, he cupped his fists respectfully and shouted, "Greetings, Hall Master. Hall Master, you're back. This is great. Hall Master." The surrounding guards were stunned. Xiang Fei was also stunned. Which Hall Master is he from? Is he from Immortal Foundation? But that shouldn't be the case. He had seen people from Immortal Foundation before. The law of aura on them was very mysterious. He didn't look like this at all. Seeing that the surrounding people were stunned, Xing Tian turned around and shouted coldly, "What are you guys waiting for? Come over and greet the Hall Master. Are you guys trying to rebel?" Some of the elders walked over with bloodshot eyes and greeted the Hall Master. The others were still in a daze, but in the next moment, they understood that this was their temple master. What? He was the temple master of Deity's Templar. Xiang Fei's eyes widened in disbelief. Previously, he had mocked the other party, thinking that the other party had no status and was just an ant. He could easily crush them to death. But now, the other party was actually the temple lord of the temple. This identity was shockingly high, and it could even be said that it was completely above his. The temple master of the deity's Templar was the holy lord of their holy land. It was not something he could compare to. As expected, he saw Peacock in front of the other party, acting completely different. When he first met Peacock, her attitude was cold and arrogant. She was like a high and mighty goddess. Even if he wanted to meet her, he would have to wait a long time. But now, Peacock was very happy in front of him, even acting like a subordinate. This huge contrast almost made Xiang Fei faint. He was so angry that his face darkened. Seeing this scene, Guard Zhan was also dumbfounded. Previously, he did not pay much attention to Lin Xian, but now he understood that this was their temple master. He quickly ran over and said to the guards, "What are you waiting for? Quickly bow to the temple master." The guards bowed one after another. "Forgive us, temple master, we did not know. Please punish us, temple master." They had previously stopped Lin Xian. However, Lin Xian smiled and said, "It's okay, the ignorant are not guilty." The surrounding guards heaved a sigh of relief. As expected of the temple master, he was indeed magnanimous. The other party was a high and mighty god of the 9 heavens. Why would he lower himself to the same level as ants? Thinking of this, they were even more in awe of the other party. Lin Xian looked at Leader Zhan and narrowed his eyes. He said, "Why are there so many unfamiliar faces?" Leader Zhan felt as if he had fallen into a 10,000-year-old ice cave after being stared at by Lin Xian. He felt that he had no secrets under the other party's eyes. This gaze was too terrifying. Is this their temple master? He's young, but he's even scarier than the older generation experts. Leader Jean was immediately frightened and his scalp went numb. He said respectfully, reporting to Temple Master, I just joined the temple recently. Peacock also said that the true spirit world has undergone a great change. The world's strength has recovered, and many geniuses and experts have risen. Therefore, Xingtian and I decided to recruit a group of geniuses and experts. Young master, you won't blame me, right? Lin Xian said, of course not. Before I left, I said that the two of you will be responsible for the temple's affairs. Speaking of which, you did the right thing. Let's go. Lin Xian waved his hand. Peacock said, Sixth Elder, send someone to handle this matter. Today, I will stay by young master's side. An old man walked over and took the scroll. He bowed to Lin Xian and left. The others surrounded Lin Xian and respectfully invited Lin Xian in. The scene was empty in an instant, leaving only Xiang Fei standing there in a daze. During this process, all eyes were on Lin Xian. No one was looking at him. They seemed to have forgotten about his existence. Damn it. He gritted his teeth and snorted, then quickly left. He had no face to stay any longer. It was too embarrassing. After inviting Lin Xian into the main hall, Xingtian said, Go and inform everyone to gather in front of the main hall. Guard Shan went to do it personally. Don't worry, Temple Master. He informed everyone as quickly as possible. He also informed them that something big had happened. The guards, young geniuses, and even some of the older generation experts were alarmed. They were puzzled. What's going on? These people came to the front of the main hall. They found that Peacock and Xingtian were standing beside a young man with incomparable respect and admiration. Who is this person? Some people were puzzled. As mentioned before, the temple had recruited a group of geniuses and experts. Many of them became guards and some became elders. Therefore, it was normal that they had not seen Lin Xian before. At this moment, these people were guessing Lin Xian's identity. Peacock stood out and said, This is the temple master of our temple. What? He's the temple master. Countless people were shocked. Those who had just joined were discussing animatedly. They were really too shocked. They had heard that although the temple's matters were managed by Peacock and Xingtian, the real temple master was someone else. It was a young man who was incomparably mysterious. However, he was on the buried Emperor's star. Now that they saw him, they were shocked. He was too young. Was such a person really the temple master of the temple? However, seeing how respectful Peacock and Xingtian were, they knew that it should not be wrong. However, some of the newcomers were dissatisfied. This person did not look as old as them. Chapter 52-41. Immediately, a genius stepped forward. Elder Peacock, we joined the Divine Hall because of its reputation. Now that the Temple Lord is here, can you show us your skills? That's right. A few more geniuses stepped forward and spoke loudly. If a sect wants to grow, the Temple Lord must be strong. We won't follow a nameless person. The other elders also began to discuss. They knew how strong Peacock and Xingtian were, as well as the Divine Hall's foundation, but they were unwilling to be controlled by such a young man. Peacock frowned at these voices. Xingtian snorted coldly. Damn it, what are these guys trying to do? He wanted to shout, but Lin Xian stopped him with a wave of his hand. He knew he was too young and wouldn't be able to convince the crowd, but he didn't care. Lin Xian stepped forward and looked at the crowd. He didn't say anything, but looked around. The new geniuses and elders weren't convinced. They wanted to see how the young Temple Lord would deal with the situation. They thought he'd be helpless. But they soon realized that wasn't the case. Under Lin Xian's gaze, the crowd fell silent. No one dared to speak. The geniuses and elders were shocked. It was as if an invisible force was suppressing their souls. What's with his gaze? Why is it so scary? It must be a psychological effect. Isn't it just the Temple Lord's identity? I'm not afraid of him. Some geniuses gritted their teeth and glared ahead. Lin Xian said when he saw the silence. I am Lin Wudi, Temple Lord of the Divine Whole. It was a simple sentence, but everyone was stunned after hearing it. Lin Wudi. He's Lin Wudi. What? That was impossible. Which Lin Wudi was he? Is he the Lin Wudi on the sovereign leaderboard? Everyone's eyes widened as they stared at the scene in front of them. Peacock said. That's right, our Temple Lord is the famous Lin Wudi. He's on the sovereign leaderboard and is qualified to be a great emperor. The crowd was in an uproar when they heard this. The new geniuses and elders were completely stunned. They were completely convinced and no longer felt discontent. This young man was simply too powerful. Although they had never met Lin Xian before, they had heard of Lin Wudi's name many times. When they arrived at the ancient Feather City, they even heard that Lin Wudi had reached the 4th layer of the Starfall Hall on his own. His status was above that of the Crown Prince, and he was the only one who had obtained the qualifications to become a great emperor. Such a person would have unparalleled achievements in the future. Even the Crown Prince wasn't a match for him, so who would dare to challenge him? Greetings, Palace Master. Greetings to the Palace Master. The elders and geniuses bowed one after another. This time, they were truly impressed. They were even excited. With such a person as the Temple Master, they would definitely stand at the peak of the universe in the future. Lin Xian's eyes scanned the surroundings as a smile appeared on his face. Everyone, cultivate well and fight against the 9 heavens with me in the future. Lin Xian's eyes shone with a cold light. The people in front of the temple raised their arms and shouted, pledging to follow the temple master to death. Looking at this scene, Yin Yu was shocked. She also came from a top family. Although she was known as the #1 genius in her family, she couldn't convince the rest of the family. There were even many people who wanted to assassinate her and take her place. However, Lin Xian was different now. These people were completely convinced by Lin Xian. When this power gathered together, it would be terrifying to the extreme. Peacock and Xing Tian smiled. Their years of hard work hadn't been in vain. They had finally helped Lin Xian a little. Next, the crowd dispersed. Lin Xian, Peacock, and Xing Tian gathered together. Peacock said, "Young master, there's a gathering coming up. Do you want to join?" Gathering? Lin Xian was curious. What was it? Why hadn't he heard of it before? Peacock said. This gathering was only for the sects of the true spirit world. Young master had been in the buried emperor star all these years. It was normal that no one invited him. Since it was only for the true spirit world, he narrowed his eyes. The current true spirit world was already extraordinary. It could be said to be on par with the buried emperor star. Since these people were gathered together, there must be something going on. He said, "Sure, I also want to see which geniuses have come out of the true spirit world." That's great. Peacock was overjoyed. She looked at Xing Tian and said, "Xing Tian, you can stay here. Give your spot to the Hall Master." "Alright, Hall Master, this is a very mystical gathering." "How mystical?" Lin Xian was also astonished. Peacock said that after entering, everyone would hide their identity. Others wouldn't be able to find out unless they revealed their identity. Moreover, this gathering was a small-scale martial arts exchange. It even had an auction as its theme. After entering, perhaps there would be treasures that young master would like. Hide their identity. Interesting. 2 days later, Lin Xian and company set off. Xing Tian stayed behind to oversee the mansion. Lin Xian brought Yun Yu and Peacock to the gathering. The gathering was held in another mansion. Before entering, the people there had already sent over some black robes. Lin Xian and company put them on. They discovered that the black robes could block out vision and soul spirit detection. They were indeed hiding their identity. Interesting. Let's go. The group walked towards the destination. After entering, they discovered that there were many people in black robes. Lin Xian couldn't detect their aura. Similarly, they didn't know who Lin Xian and company were. There was an additional layer of mystery between them. At this moment, Peacock walked towards a pavilion. That was the Sea of Clouds pavilion. She had already booked it. After all, people of their status couldn't sit in the main hall. Every one of them would have their own pavilion. The Sea of Clouds pavilion was booked by Peacock. The Sea of Clouds pavilion was very mysterious. There were clouds rolling around it. Peacock walked forward. However, she was stopped. "Gentlemen, please wait." Peacock stopped. She took out a token and said, "I have booked this place. Lead the way." However, the guard in front said, "I'm sorry. This place is already taken. Gentlemen, please go to other places." Hearing this, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. Peacock was stunned. "Taken? What a joke. I booked this place 5 days ago. I even paid for it. You actually gave it to someone else?" "I don't know." The guard shook his head. At this moment, a middle-aged man walked over from afar. He waved his fan and smiled. "What's the matter?" The guard explained the situation. The middle-aged man listened and said, "Gentlemen, please. Let me give you a piece of advice. The people inside have an extraordinary status. I'm afraid you can't afford to offend them." There was a hint of warning in his voice. Peacock was furious. "Can't afford to offend them? I want to see who dares to challenge the temple." Chapter 52-42. The middle-aged man's pupils constricted when he saw the token. He had heard of people from the deity hall before. They were extremely extraordinary in the quintessential world. Therefore, his attitude changed and he smiled. "Greetings, friends from the deity hall. We have not received you well in this matter. I will open another pavilion for you as compensation." Peacock did not say anything. Instead, she looked at Lin Xian. Lin Xian said, "There is no need. Since it has already been decided, we will take the Cloud Sea Pavilion." "Did you hear that? We want the Cloud Sea Pavilion. This matter is your fault. You can deal with it yourselves." Peacock did not back down. The Divine Union did not need to back down now. Furthermore, Lin Xian had already given the order. She naturally had to carry it out. The middle-aged man frowned when he heard that. The Divine Union was powerful and he could not afford to offend them. However, the people inside were also extraordinary. He could not afford to offend them either. For a moment, he was stunned and did not know what to do. At that moment, a few people walked out of the Cloud Sea Pavilion. Who was causing trouble here? These few young people were surrounded by nomological laws. They looked mighty and extraordinary. When the middle-aged man saw them, he could only explain the situation and push them aside. It was better to let these two big sects handle it. The few young people were stunned when they heard that. Were they from the deity hall? Wait. They hurried to report it. Not long after, a few more figures came down. They were all young and outstanding. Their nomological laws were overwhelming. Clearly, they were all geniuses. I was wondering who it was. So they are from the deity hole. I wonder which one of them is it? A man in front sneered. Sword chi was surging from his body. The surrounding void was constantly shattering. It could not withstand this power at all. Jian Xiao. Peacock's face turned cold after she saw that. She lowered her cloak and revealed her beautiful face. This place belongs to the deity hall. Take your people and leave quickly. Oh, it is Fairy Peacock. Jian Zhao's eyes flickered. If Fairy Peacock does not have a place, you can come to the Cloud Sea Pavilion with us. We will take good care of Fairy Peacock. After saying that, he looked at the other two people. Who were these two? Were they also from the deity hall? At that moment, a man walked out from the side. His body was shimmering with the 5 elements. It was very scary. He said, Fairy Peacock, I have heard of your beauty. Now that I see it, you are extraordinary. Fairy Peacock, accompany me for a drink. As he spoke, he stretched out his hand and tried to grab the peacock. Peacock frowned and dodged the attack with a sway. 5 Fairy Peacock, Fairy Peacock. Oh my, Fairy still recognizes me. That's great. Peacock, Peacock, Peacock. Peacock's face was cold as she looked at Lin Xian. Humph, you're courting death. Lin Xian snorted. Upon hearing this, Peacock understood. However, before she could make a move, Yunue who was beside her made the first move. A jade-white palm shone with a holy light, as if it was the hand of an angel, and slashed forward. He sent a palm strike at Yuanju. Yuanju was instantly sent flying, spitting out large mouthfuls of blood. Damn it! You dare to attack me! Yuanju roared and attacked again. 5 elements fist. He threw a punch. The 5 elements combined. It was terrifying. It seemed that the 5 elements' sacred land had produced some powerful experts in recent years. Yunyu sneered. He was as famous as Bailey Wook and had the strength of an emperor. Therefore, he did not care about the other party's attack. He formed a seal with his palm, turning it into an angel seal. The 5 elements' fist was shattered. This time, Yuanju's injury was even more serious. His entire arm turned into a bloody mist. Ah! He let out a miserable cry. The surrounding people were also stunned. They looked at the black-robed figure in front of them and felt their scalps go numb. Who was that person? It seemed to be a woman. That was too terrifying. Even Peacock was stunned. She had always thought that Yunyu was just Lin Xian's follower. She did not expect him to be so terrifying. The aura he emitted made her feel mysterious. Thinking of this, she smirked and said coldly, Jian Xiao, Yuanju, are you still going to stay here? Jian Zhao's expression was cold. He looked at Yuanju and frowned. He did not attack because the move just now had shocked him greatly. Who was this person in front of him? When did the Temple of God have such a powerful ally? He gritted his teeth. Good, very good. Temple of God, I will remember you. I will not let this matter rest so easily. He snorted and left with his people. Yuanju also stood up and gritted his teeth. Just you wait. The people from the 5 elements sacred land and the sword sect left. The Cloud Sea Pavilion was empty. Lin Xian walked forward. Peacock and Yunyu followed behind him. The surrounding guards made way. They lowered their heads deeply. No one dared to stop them. The middle-aged man was also covered in cold sweat. When he saw the three of them enter, he quickly called for the guards and said, "Quick, bring me the best spirit wine and food. If you dare to be negligent, don't blame me for killing you." Lin Xian had just entered when the maids came in with exquisite spirit wine and food. They replaced all the previous ones. Peacock waved her hand. "All right, you can go outside and wait." The maids all retreated outside. Peacock said that the two people from before were from the Sword Sect and the Five Elements Sacred Land. They were called Jian Shao and Yuan Ju. They were also considered top geniuses. Of course, they were not worth mentioning in front of the young master. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. He had interacted with these sacred lands many times in the past. However, those people were long gone now. The newcomers were all unfamiliar faces, and he was filled with emotion. In martial arts cultivation, if you did not advance, you would fall behind. Although not many years had passed, the new generation had replaced the old. Martial arts cultivation was so cruel. In the end, who could reach the peak? Who could always win and not lose? It could be said that there were only a few people. Everything else will eventually return to dust, dust to dust. Lin Xian did not want such a fate. He wanted to fight all the way to the peak. Since the Five Elements Sacred Land was here, the other sacred lands should be here too. I wonder who's hosting the party this time. On the other side, the people from the Sword Sect and the Five Elements Sacred Land left for another hall. After entering, Yuan Ju roared crazily. He was like a wounded beast. "Damn it! I will not let that woman Peacock go. And the person who attacked, I will capture them. I will let them know despair." Jian Zhao's expression was also cold. He said, "Brother Yuan, don't be anxious. The experts from the temple this time are very mysterious. I don't know who else is so terrifying. I have to investigate carefully. But don't worry. This time, it is Hun Tian Palace." The gathering was hosted. His goal was to integrate the power of the quintessential world. Chapter 52-43. The people from the Five Elements Holy Lands also advised Yuan Ju. "That's right, senior brother. You mustn't ruin His Highness Hun Tian's plan. Otherwise, we'll all die." Yuan Ju also took a deep breath. He trembled when he heard the name Hun Tian. His opponent was the Double Crown champion. How terrifying was that? He said, "Fine, I'll let those people live for a while longer. At that time, if they dare to resist His Highness Hun Tian, let's see how they'll die." Following that, more people arrived one after another. These people entered the pavilions and palaces and waited. In the evening, these people came out one after another. A banquet was about to be held. Although these people wore black robes and didn't want to reveal their faces, they were still dazzling. However, there were always some people who were radiating brilliance, allowing others to recognize who they were with a single glance. For example, there were people with soaring sword energy, people with five elements laws revolving around them, and people with powerful physiques. Every holy land had their own unique techniques, so it was easy to distinguish them. These people stood out because they wanted to show their identity and make others feel reverence. Lin Xian and the others also came down. They didn't have any aura of laws on their bodies, so they walked among the crowd and listened to the news. After all, Lin Xian was very curious about who was condensing the energy of the true spirit world. The other holy lands were also curious and started discussing spiritedly. Someone said, "Did you see that? The energy that came this time is from the true spirit world. Someone must have done this on purpose." That was indeed the case. This mansion belonged to the Pureness Immortal Plateau, but the Greenwood Immortal Plateau only provided a place for them to stay. Therefore, I'm guessing that someone else is holding this banquet. I heard some people shouting, Your Highness. Could it be that the young master of the Pureness Immortal Plateau has come? Many people were shocked when they heard this. The Pureness Immortal Plateau belonged to the Yuhua Immortal Dynasty. The young master of the Pureness Immortal Plateau was definitely a top-notch existence. He wasn't any weaker than the Crown Prince. What was the purpose of such a gathering of people? One could well imagine that it was definitely something earth-shattering. There were also people who said, No, I don't think this Your Highness refers to someone from the Immortal Plateau. It might even be someone else. Didn't you notice that there are many people from the All Beginnings Holy Land? It must be related to them. The All Beginnings Holy Land, cultivated the primal chaos energy. That's not all. Haven't you heard? Previously, during the test at Nebula Hall, a chaotic body had appeared. That was the Double Crown King. His opponent was from the Primal Chaos clan. Do you think the All Beginnings Holy Land is related to them? Could it really be him? Heavens, if it was him, it was really possible. Voices rang out one after another. They all guessed the same person. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes when he heard this. Chaotic body. He snorted coldly. If it really was the other party, then he wasn't unfamiliar with them. Of course, these were all just guesses. No one knew for sure. However, since the other party was holding this banquet, it would definitely appear in the end. The banquet began. Everyone drank and chatted with each other. When the banquet was about to end, a group of people walked over from afar. The person walking at the very front was dressed in a black robe, but his face was hidden. A woman and a man, both of them exuding a terrifying aura, as if they could split the heavens and earth apart. Countless people exclaimed. The Saint of All Beginnings and the Saint of All Beginnings. The Saint of All Beginnings and the Saint of All Beginnings were just two titles. Lin Xian looked up and discovered that they were no longer the people he knew. These two people's faces were unfamiliar, but their auras were 100 times stronger than before. They could already be considered peak heaven's prides. The surrounding people also exclaimed in surprise. However, what surprised them was that the Saint of All Beginnings and the Saint of All Beginnings was accompanying a single person. The person walking at the very front was dressed in a black robe. His entire body was shrouded, and his face couldn't be seen clearly. However, since this person was above the All Beginnings Holy Land, his identity could be imagined. Could it be that he was the host of this banquet? Thinking of this, everyone sat up straight and looked ahead. The group of people stopped. Then, they sat down. That was the seat of the host. The black-robed person sat in the main seat. The Saint of All Beginnings and the Saint of All Beginnings sat beside him. The other people who had left the Holy Land also sat down. Fellow Taoist All Beginnings, may I know who this is? Someone asked. The Saint of All Beginnings stood up and said. Everyone, there is no need to be anxious. Let me introduce him to everyone. This person has an extraordinary origin. He is an honored guest of our All Beginnings Holy Land. Speaking of which, he has a relationship with our Holy Land. He is the young master of the Primal Chaos race. His Highness, Hun Tian. After saying those words, Hun Tian took off his cloak. When the surrounding people saw this scene, they cried out in alarm. Hun Tian. Was it really him? Everyone wasn't unfamiliar with this name. After all, this person was a Double Crown King. One must know that Kunping Zi and the others were all Double Crown Kings. Now that the Double Crown King clan was above their imperial sons, how could they not be shocked? They hadn't expected that it really was him. Not only was he a Double Crown King, but he was also from the Primal Chaos race. The All-Beginnings Holy Land was already so terrifying just by possessing the aura of primal chaos. The primal chaos race was even more terrifying than the All-Beginnings Holy Land. After all, the primal chaos race was a clan that had existed since the creation of the world. How terrifying was that? With such a clan and such a heaven's pride, it was enough to sweep through everything. Looking at the discussions below, Hun Tian swept his gaze across the crowd. Then, he gently waved his hand. No one dared to say anything. When Hun Tian stood up, he looked like a god of primal chaos overlooking everything. He said, "It's me." Sure enough, it was him who had gathered them. He was the host of this banquet. However, why had he gathered them? Everyone was curious. Hun Tian sat down again and swirled his wine cup. A strange light flickered in his eyes. Everyone knew that there were two stars in the universe that were extremely mysterious. One was the buried Emperor Star, where great emperors were buried. The other was the true spirit world, where countless geniuses and even great emperors were born. Now that the true spirit world had recovered, our holy lands and sects were growing stronger day by day. However, we still couldn't compare to the buried Emperor Star. Furthermore, the treasures that belonged to our clan's experts were all buried in the buried Emperor Star. Don't you want to explore and obtain them? When these words came out, countless people were in an uproar. Even Peacock and the others were surprised. This guy was so ambitious. What did he want to do? The others also cried out in alarm. Someone asked, "What does His Highness Hun Tian mean?" Hun Tian said, "I want to gather the strength of the true spirit world and go to the buried Emperor Star to explore the ancient Earth tomb." When these words came out, countless people were in an uproar. Peacock was also stunned. She had guessed that Hun Tian was bold, but she didn't expect him to be so bold. His goal was actually the ancient Earth tomb. Beside her, Yun Yu was also surprised. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. As expected of the Double Crown King. What boldness! The others were even more shocked. They had guessed countless possibilities, but they didn't expect it to be this. Chapter 52-44. What's wrong? You don't dare. Hun Tian shook his head. Although your strength has increased, you are still as cowardly as before. This is truly disappointing. Someone said, "Hun Tian Palace, it's not that we are cowards. It's just that this matter is too shocking. We need to think about it properly." What should we think about? Someone said, "If you are cowardly, then admit it. We are not afraid. We are willing to follow His Highness Hun Tian." The Sword Sect's people walked over to the side. That's right, the Five Elements Holy Lands Yuanju also walked over. With His Highness Hun Tian here, there is nothing that cannot be done. We are also willing. In an instant, more than a dozen holy lands and sects walked over and stood on Hun Tian's side. The All Beginnings Holy Lands people had excited expressions. This is great. Hun Tian's lips curled up. His expression was still calm. With his reputation as the Double Crown King, could these people stop him if he wanted to do anything? Everything was under his control. However, there were still people who were hesitating. Although that was the case, the ancient tomb of a great emperor was a land of death even on the buried Emperor Star. Moreover, there were countless treasures inside. If they went, would the people of the buried Emperor Star agree? That was indeed the case. Many people on the buried Emperor Star had designs on such treasures. For the time being, they did not dare to make a move. If they went, the buried Emperor Star would probably start a war with them. Hun Tian smiled. You are worrying too much. We are a family with the buried Emperor Star. If we go, we will only join hands with them. We will not become enemies with them. Once these words were said, many people were shocked. From his words, it seemed that Hun Tian was already contacting the people of the buried Emperor Star. It seemed that he had this idea for a long time. It was very likely that he had already set up a big plan. He was just waiting for the right time to activate it. Everyone, if you are still worried, I will let you meet another person. Friends of the dragons, come out. Hun Tian waved his hand and the aura of primal chaos flew into the distance. A group of people walked out of the palace in the distant sky. The aura of the Tao of dragons from these people swept through the 9 heavens. The people in the surroundings felt their scalps go numb. What a terrifying bloodline power! Yun Yu cried out. It was the people of the 10,000 Dragon Court. Lin Xian's eyes narrowed. Was the 10,000 Dragon Court again? Furthermore, they were together with Hun Tian. The people from the 10,000 Dragon Court descended from the sky. The one walking at the front was a woman. The aura of dragon blood on her body was extremely terrifying and mysterious. The surrounding geniuses all bowed respectfully. Greetings, Princess Long Wu. Hun Tian shook his wine glass and patted the seat beside him. Long Wu, come and sit. Long Wu nodded slightly and sat down beside Hun Tian. The surrounding people were shocked. The dragons had really come. It seemed that what Hun Tian said was true. Lin Xian frowned. The name Long Wu was exactly the same as the dragon prince from before. What was the 10,000 Dragon Dynasty doing? Hun Tian looked around and said. You might not have heard of this name before, but the dragon prince's name was Long Wu. Long Wu's voice was the same. But you should also know that she replaced the position of the dragon prince. Princess Long Wu was the leader of the 10,000 Dragon Dynasty. She represents the dragons. Now that she has joined hands with me, what else do you have to worry about? The people from the surrounding holy lands and sects were stunned. Replacing the dragon prince. This was too unbelievable. Although Hun Tian didn't have the imperial bloodline, he definitely wouldn't be weak. After all, they knew that many people without the imperial bloodline had risen to prominence. For example, Hun Tian didn't have the imperial bloodline, but didn't he still become the double crown king? Everything was possible. If Hun Tian and the 10,000 Dragon Dynasty joined hands, with the 10,000 Dragon Dynasty's position in the buried Emperor Star, they would definitely be able to do it. They might even join hands to explore the tomb of the great emperor. In an instant, many holy lands and sects responded. However, there were also some people who frowned. Was it really just an alliance? They didn't think so. With Hun Tian's status, it was very likely that he wanted to control the entire true spirit world. If that was the case, their future would be miserable. However, they were only worried. No one dared to object at this time. If someone dared to object, they would be courting death. They would offend the dragons and the primal chaos race. Hun Tian alone was enough to suppress 10,000 worlds. He was a true double crown king. Seeing that no one dared to object, Hun Tian nodded and laughed. Everything was under his control. He was very satisfied. However, at this moment, Yuan Ju of the 5 Elements Holy Land walked over and said, Your Highness Hun Tian. In the central continent of the true spirit world, there is a sect called the Deity's Palace. It is also a peak force. However, I don't think they will agree to join hands so easily. Why? Hun Tian's face sank. Does he dare to go against me? The surrounding people were also shocked. Peacock's pupils shrank. That damned Yuan Ju, he was taking revenge on them at this time. Jian Shao also walked over and said, "Your Highness, you might not know that the deity's palace's palace master is a very mysterious and terrifying person. Legend has it that their palace master is Lin Wuti of the buried Emperor Star." Lin Wuti! Everyone exclaimed. This name was like thunder in their ears. A few peak experts had appeared in the fallen star hole. One was the double-crowned king, Hun Tian. Another was the light-shaking realm cultivator who cultivated the heaven-devouring demonic art. The last one was even more shocking, Lin Wuti. He was on the young sovereign list and had the qualifications to become a great emperor. Such a person's strength was terrifying. As a member of the deity's palace, would he agree to join hands with Hun Tian? One had to know that although Hun Tian had not reached the 4th floor, his main body strength was definitely extraordinary. He had the potential to become a great emperor. Such people were all sworn enemies. There was only one person who could continue on the path of the great emperor. They were natural enemies. How could they join hands? Hun Tian's eyes flashed with a cold light when he heard this. Lin Wuti, it was actually him. So this was the deity's palace's foundation. However, it did not matter. He had reached the 4th floor, but he only had the potential to become a great emperor. That possibility was too slim. Currently, the one walking outside is only one of my clones. My main body was cultivating and did not come. Otherwise, with my main body's strength, Lin Wuti would not be able to behave so atrociously in front of me. He was nothing to be afraid of. As for the strength behind Lin Wuti, it was enough to contend against the Thousand Dragon Dynasty. However, the Primal Chaos clan was born since the creation of the world. Our family's foundation is not something Lin Wuti can imagine. Whether it is in terms of strength or foundation, I can firmly suppress Lin Wuti. So, you don't have to worry. Of course, no one can contend against your highness. Jian Shao and Yuan Ju clapped and laughed. The others were also in an uproar. It seemed that Hun Tian was not afraid of Lin Wuti at all. In fact, he was extremely confident that he could suppress Lin Wuti. Then how terrifying was the other party? It seemed that the deity's palace was doomed. Chapter 52-45. There was an ethereal palace in the clouds far away. There was a figure standing inside the palace. He was dressed in green and had a handsome face. She was Qing Tan, the woman who served tea to Ancestor Greenwood. There were a few figures following behind her. They were all from the Greenwood Immortal platform. It seemed that the plan had succeeded. These people didn't dare to go against Hun Tian at all. Another person said. That was because Hun Tian was the double champion. The Hundun clan behind him was even more terrifying. They had a boundary emperor in their clan. Such a person wouldn't even care about the monarch clan. Not to mention the true spirit world. Qing Tan nodded after hearing that. We can start the next step of the plan. Suddenly, someone said, "Hey, look at that woman." According to the information, she should be the peacock fairy from the temple. A man pointed into the distance and said. Qing Tan and the others looked over. It turned out that the people from the temple were here too. However, they didn't stand out to resist. They should have submitted by default. At this point, they felt that the plan had succeeded. However, Qing Tan frowned slightly because she felt a sense of danger from the peacock fairy. Who was it? She realized that there was a black-robed man beside the peacock fairy. However, she felt an inexplicable sense of danger when she looked at him. What a strange person. Qing Tan was shocked. This black-robed man was not simple. He must be an unparalleled expert. She gasped. There was actually such an expert beside the temple. He probably wouldn't submit so easily. However, she didn't know if this person or Hun Tian was stronger. Next, Hun Tian, Long Wu, and some other top geniuses left. They went to the other palaces to discuss matters. The surrounding people started discussing again. After all, what Hun Tian mentioned was too shocking. They had to think carefully. At this moment, someone said, "Isn't that Peacock Fairy?" "It's really her. The temple is here too." Everyone was shocked. Previously, someone mentioned the temple and they might have objected. However, they didn't expect Peacock Fairy to be here. She didn't say anything before. Could it be that she had submitted? Someone said that was for sure. How would she dare to go against Hun Tian? So what if the temple is strong? Xiang Fei sneered. "Aren't you bowing your head now?" His eyes were filled with schadenfreude. Previously, when he went to look for Peacock, he was ignored and even slapped in the face by Lin Xian. He was so ashamed that he could not show his face. Now that he saw the deity hall in trouble, he naturally rejoiced in their misfortune. However, he was not satisfied. He had to get his hands on Peacock and torture it to death. There was also that kid. When he thought of Lin Xian, he gritted his teeth. "No matter who you are, I will make you regret it." Thinking of this, the corner of his mouth raised into a sneer. Now that the four symbols' sacred grounds had formed an alliance with His Majesty Hun Tian, he could naturally borrow His Majesty Hun Tian's strength. Thinking of this, he left. He wasn't qualified to meet Hun Tian, but he could contact the people of the All Beginnings Holy Land. He found the Saint of All Beginning. Of course, he would exaggerate some things. Holy Son of All Beginnings was furious. "Are you saying that the Divine Hall is secretly gathering forces to resist us?" "Yes, that's right." Xiang Fei nodded. "Peacock is right here. If you don't believe me, you can ask her yourself." "Okay." The Saint of All Beginnings stood up and walked over with his men. Xiang Fei led the way. Peacock, let's see how you will die this time." The crowd was still discussing when a path suddenly opened up. The Saint of All Beginnings had arrived. They all bowed. Some of them could resist him, but they did not dare. After all, the primal chaos race was behind him. They could only admit defeat. Seeing these people coming, they were surprised. Who were they looking for? Could it be that someone dared to offend the Saint of All Beginnings? Did they not want to live anymore? The Saint of All Beginnings had an extraordinary status. He was a top genius. Once he used the primal chaos law, he had the power to split heaven and earth. He could suppress other top geniuses with a single hand. Who dared to resist him? Soon, these people arrived in front of Peacock. They were in a confrontation. Xiang Fei smiled. "Peacock Fairy, I trust you have been well since we last met." Peacock's face sank when she saw him. "What do you want to do with these people?" Peacock Fairy is very nervous. "Don't worry, I just need your promise." The Saint of All Beginnings also walked out. "Why didn't you say anything when His Highness Hun Tian united the true spirit world? Since the deity hall is also here, make a decision now. Do you want to submit?" Everyone was in an uproar. They did not expect that they were targeting the deity hall. Peacock Fairy had an extraordinary status in the deity hall. If she lowered her head, it meant that the deity hall had to submit. "People of the All Beginnings Holy Land, don't go too far." Peacock stood up with an ice-cold expression. Her body emitted 5-colored radiance that could engulf everything. Her bloodline was also extraordinary. Peacock was a mutated beast of heaven and earth. In addition to her years of experience, she was also a top expert. "You dare to contend against us? Don't you know who we represent?" We represent His Highness Hun Tian. No matter how strong you are, can you contend against the primal chaos race? The coldness of the All Beginnings Holy Land's people caused the scalps of the surrounding people to go numb. No one dared to oppose them. Xiang Fei walked out with a smile. Peacock Fairy, a wise man submits to circumstances. As long as you lower your head and become my Tao companion, I will do my best to help you get His Highness Hun Tian to forgive you. Otherwise, not only you, but your entire deity hall will be annihilated. Peacock was so angry that her face turned pale. This Xiang Fei was so hateful. At this time, Lin Xian, who had been sitting down all this time, spoke. If you want to die, I can send you to hell. Damned brat, it's you. Xiang Fei shouted angrily. Who do you think you are? You dare to be arrogant in front of me? He turned his head and looked at the All Beginnings Holy Sun. This brat dared to look down on us. I think we should kill him as a warning to others. Since this brat dared to fight over Peacock with him, he would let him know what regret was. Thinking of this, the corners of Xiang Fei's mouth rose. Humph, let's see how you die. But in the next moment, his pupils shrank because he saw the other party raise his head. There was a trace of golden radiance flickering in his eyes. Then, he felt as if his soul was about to split open. He held his head and screamed miserably. No! Ah! His soul started to burn. He rolled on the ground in pain. The surrounding void kept shattering. But he still couldn't extinguish the fire. In the blink of an eye, he turned into ashes. The surrounding people were stunned. Dead. A top-notch genius was instantly killed just like that. What kind of method was this? It was too terrifying. The All Beginnings Holy Sun was also furious. The other party dared to kill in front of him. Was this a challenge? He wouldn't allow such a person to exist. Courting death. With a cold shout, he formed a hand seal, forming the All Beginnings seal. Chapter 52-46. The seal of All Beginnings illuminated the surroundings. The surrounding people were shocked. Heavens, this is the ultimate technique of the All Beginnings Holy Land. I have seen the Saint Son of All Beginnings before. He used the seal of All Beginnings to suppress 2 peak experts. That black-robed man was dead for sure. No matter how strong he was, it was impossible for him to contend against the Saint Son of All Beginnings. The surrounding people shook their heads. In the face of the seal of All Beginnings, Lin Xian sneered. With a wave of his hand, a 5-fingered mountain appeared and slammed forward. A heaven-shaking sound echoed. The seal of All Beginnings instantly shattered and the 5-fingered mountain arrived. Boom! The Saint Son of All Beginnings' body swayed. Cracks appeared on his body. No, how was this possible? The other party's strength was actually so terrifying. It was as if he wasn't facing a black-robed man, but a god. He couldn't resist at all. He had only felt this kind of situation from His Highness Hun Tian. Just who was this person? In the next instant, he was suppressed by the 5-fingered mountain. The earth shook. Everyone was stunned. What were they seeing? The Saint Son of All Beginnings, a peak expert, was actually suppressed in an instant. This was too inconceivable. Just who was this black-robed man? Damn it, who are you? Release me. You dare to injure me. Do you know the consequences? The Saint Son of All Beginnings crazily roared. He had lost all face. Moreover, he was seriously injured. This was something he couldn't accept. Lin Xian sneered. He slapped out and shattered the other party's face. Who do you think you are? You dare to be arrogant in front of me? Even if Hun Tian came, he wouldn't dare to be so arrogant. Hearing this, the surrounding people were stunned. The other party didn't place Hun Tian in his eyes at all. No way, could it be that this person was an imperial prince? But even an imperial prince wouldn't dare to be so arrogant. Damn it, let go of our holy son. When the other experts of the All Beginnings Holy Land saw this scene, they crazily rushed out. However, Lin Xian formed another five-fingered mountain and suppressed all of them. He didn't kill them. He only suppressed them. Then, Lin Xian shook his wine cup and calmly tasted the wine. The surrounding people went crazy. This person was slapping the All Beginnings Holy Land's face. No, this was a challenge to His Highness Hun Tian. Could this be the trump card of the temple? But when did the temple have such an expert? How could they not know? Voices of discussion rang out one after another. They were all trying to guess Lin Xian's identity. I'm afraid a storm is coming. There were also people who shook their heads. He was dead for sure. Soon, someone passed on the news. Hun Tian sat high up in a distant hall, his eyes looking down. What do you think? The surrounding great sects and sacred grounds of the true spirit world were all sighing in their hearts. The other party's conditions were too harsh. It was equivalent to them completely submitting to the other party. However, no one dared to resist. That was because if anyone dared to resist, that Holy Land would probably be turned into ashes in an instant. It seemed like this was the only way. Although he was unwilling, there was nothing he could do. That's right, it wasn't embarrassing to submit to the other party. After all, the other party was the double champion. The other party's clan was rumored to have a quasi-emperor. That was probably even more terrifying than an emperor clan. Therefore, they all nodded and agreed to such a request. Hun Tian's mouth curved into a smile. The true spirit world's forces had been integrated. Next, he could make his move. It was time to explore the tomb of the great emperor. Of course, he had to wait until the matter of the Yuhua immortal dynasty was over. Suddenly, a voice came from outside. His Highness is in trouble. Hun Tian frowned. What's the matter? Didn't I say not to disturb me? However, at this moment, a person from the Hun Tian clan personally walked over. He said, Your Highness, the matter is urgent. Someone has suppressed the Saint of All Beginnings. Our ally, the genius of the four symbol sacred grounds, Xiang Fei, was also killed by the other party. As soon as these words came out, everyone in the hall was stunned. What's going on? Someone dared to behave atrociously here. They couldn't believe it. One had to know what kind of identity Hun Tian had. He alone suppressed the true spirit world's sacred grounds, making them unable to raise their heads. Who would dare to resist such a person? Hun Tian's face darkened, and killing intent erupted from his eyes. Are they courting death? It seemed that he was too merciful before. Well, let the true spirit world see his means. At that time, he would like to see who would dare to resist him. They actually dared to fight against His Highness. They were too reckless. Jian Shao of the Sword Sect stood up and shouted coldly. He had to kill him and intimidate the world. We are willing to fight for Your Highness. The people of the Sword Sect said. The people of the Five Elements Sacred Grounds also petitioned. This was a good opportunity. Whoever could be valued by His Highness Hun Tian would have a meteoric rise. However, Hun Tian waved his hand and said, No, our primal chaos tribe will deal with this matter ourselves. Hunli, you go. As soon as he finished speaking, a figure walked out from behind Hun Tian and said, Don't worry, Your Highness. I will suppress him and bring him here for Your Highness to deal with. This person had a monstrous aura and terrifying power, as if he was a barbarian god. Even the experts of the other sacred grounds felt their scalps go numb. Just the other party's aura was enough to frighten them. This person could definitely sweep the world. I will lead the way. Ju stood up. Then, the two of them left the hall, and the others sat down again. They didn't think it was a big deal and believed that it would be resolved soon. At the banquet outside, countless people were still discussing. After all, the scene was too shocking. The saint of all beginnings and the other experts were all suppressed, which terrified them. They didn't know what would happen next. At this moment, someone said, "Someone has come to the hall. The Primal Chaos Tribe is here." They were shocked. Did the Primal Chaos Tribe come in person? They all looked over. A tall man walked over, and the chaotic aura on his body was abnormally terrifying. It was really someone from the Primal Chaos Tribe. It seemed that His Highness Hun Tian was angry. "Get out of the way." Ju led the way and shouted angrily. The crowd opened up a path for him. Soon, they came to the front and saw the suppressed saint of all beginnings and the others. Ju also gasped. Did they really dare to attack? Han Li's face turned gloomy. Who was the one who did it? Get over here and die. He shouted coldly, and the void around him shattered. It was as if he was really going to split the world. The power of the primal chaos terrified everyone. This person was much stronger than the saint of all beginnings. Was this the power of the Primal Chaos Tribe? It was too terrifying. No one could resist it. You are not Hun Tian. I told Hun Tian to get over here himself. The others are not qualified to be my opponent. Lin Xian snorted coldly. His arrogant words shocked everyone again, and the people who rushed over were also angry. Ju was surprised. Who was so arrogant? He looked ahead. When he saw Peacock and Lin Xian, he was stunned. It was them. Weren't they the ones who drove them away? These people were very terrifying. He had experienced it before, so he wanted to remind them. But it was too late. Han Li was completely furious. Chapter 52-47. Han Li was much stronger than the saint of all beginnings. He laughed. Kid, you're too arrogant. Do you think you can compete with me just because you defeated the saint? He's not even half as strong as me. Today, I'll let you know the power of the Primal Chaos Clan. He raised his palm and punched out. Primal Chaos Divine Fist. This punch was extremely terrifying. The aura of primal chaos surrounded it as if it could pierce through the world. At this moment, the surrounding people were terrified. They felt as if their bodies were about to be destroyed. What kind of fist technique was this? No one could resist it. Even Peacock gasped. Beside her, Yu's eyes were also shining. She didn't expect the Primal Chaos Clan to have such a person. Lin Xian was also surprised. As expected of the Primal Chaos Clan. But so what? I've said it before. If you want to be my opponent, let Hun Li do it himself. You're not enough. He clenched his fist and punched out the Six Paths fist. The phantoms of the six worlds surrounded him, suppressing everything and pressing forward. He actually dares to fight back. Does he know what kind of existence he's facing? It's over. I think this guy is dead for sure. Seeing Lin Xian still attacking, the surrounding people shook their heads and sneered. They seemed to be able to see Lin Xian's end. Boom! The two fists collided. It was earth-shattering. However, the result was shocking. The Six Paths fist directly shattered the Primal Chaos fist. One of Soul Power's arms suddenly split open and turned into a bloody mist. He screamed and retreated. The next moment, he was suppressed by the 6 worlds. The surrounding spectators widened their eyes in disbelief. This was soul power. It was much more terrifying than the saint of all beginnings. That punch was enough to destroy the world. But now, it was directly shattered by someone. He was seriously injured and even suppressed. This guy is too strong. Is he really an emperor? At least he has this kind of strength. Several people exclaimed. Damn it. Hunley was also terrified. When did the temple have such an expert? Could it be? He thought of a possibility. The temple master of the temple. Is it really him? He wanted to shout, but he couldn't do it. The 6 worlds made him like an ant, he could only crawl. Yuan Juesha, who was next to him, knelt on the ground. Had he dared to clamor with such a person before? It was already a miracle that he was still alive. The others were also shocked. They were all trying to guess who this person was. There was a mysterious figure in the crowd. He was wearing a Taoist robe. He looked ahead and sucked in a breath of cold air. Could it be him? If it was really him, then perhaps everything could be explained. The laws on this person's body were abnormally deep and terrifying. He was from the Tao-E Holy Land. Eldest senior brother, who is he? The others from the Tao One Holy Ground were also confused. Who was it that could make their eldest senior brother so shocked? Was he an imperial prince? First senior brother shook his head. No, he wasn't the imperial prince, but he was even more terrifying than the imperial prince. Hearing this, the people from the Tao One Holy Ground were stunned. Then, they thought of someone. Was it him? Lin Wudi. There were 2 people who were even more terrifying than the crown prince. One of them was the double crown king, Hun Tian. However, it couldn't be him. There was only one other person left, and that was Lin Wudi. He was someone who had killed the dragon prince. Such a person was really too terrifying. Moreover, they had heard all kinds of legends about Lin Wudi. Previously, they found it unbelievable. However, the incident at the Nebula Hall had happened right beside them. He was the only person who had made it onto the Supreme Leaderboard. Even Hun Tian hadn't made it onto the leaderboard. How terrifying would such a person be? No wonder their eldest senior brother was so shocked. However, there were also people who said that no matter how strong Lin Wudi was, could he fight against Hun Tian? That was the Double Crown King. Indeed, everyone was worried. However, the eldest senior brother of the Tao One Holy Land smirked. I don't know who is stronger between the 2 of them. Perhaps the Double Crown King is stronger, but that might not be the case now. According to the information I received, the body walking outside is a clone of Hun Tian. It's not his main body at all. The strength of this clone is only at the Imperial Prince level. It's not possible for him to suppress Lin Wudi. Unless his main body comes personally, there would be a good show to watch this time. This eldest senior brother was very powerful. The Tao One Holy Land also had an extraordinary background. After the recovery of the world, their great Tao laws had become even more terrifying. The eldest senior brother was confident that he could defeat everything. However, facing Lin Wudi, he was also terrified and didn't dare to fight against him. The surrounding junior brothers were also shocked when they heard this. They didn't know what would happen next. The news of Hun Tian's soul power being suppressed spread again. When the people in the hall heard this, they were all stunned. Those experts from the Holy Land couldn't believe it. Even Hun Tian's soul power had been defeated. The pupils of the Hun Tian's people also constricted. They knew the strength of Hun Tian's soul power. To be able to defeat Hun Tian's soul power was probably beyond their imagination. After hearing this, Hun Tian stood up. Extremely terrifying killing intent burst out from his eyes. Who was it? Was this a slap to his face? Beside him, Longwu also frowned slightly. She said that Hun Tian's soul power was very strong. To be able to defeat him so easily, it was at least at the Imperial Prince level. A young powerhouse. Hun Tian snorted coldly. His eyes were filled with killing intent. So what? I want to see who dares to challenge me. He strode forward. Longwu soared into the air and followed him. The other holy emperors also followed one after another. Jian Shao roared. Whoever dared to offend His Highness Hun Tian was dead meat, no matter who it was. This group of people completely alarmed the outside world. One had to know that those who could enter the main hall were all top-notch experts. Behind them stood the Holy Land sects, which were unparalleled. Once they made a move, the entire world would be in an uproar. When these people came out, they were also shocked. It was one thing to hear about it. But when they saw with their own eyes that their holy son and Hun Tian's soul power had been suppressed, their vision turned black. Someone really dared to make a move. Who was it? They all looked over. In the next moment, they saw Peacock standing there with a cold expression. The others retreated far away. It was her, someone from the temple. They didn't expect it to be the temple. These people were shocked and quickly told Hun Tian. After hearing this, Hun Tian's eyes burst with a cold light. The temple. Previously, someone seemed to have warned him that the temple might resist. He just didn't expect it to come so quickly. However, so what if it was the temple? No one could stop him from doing what he wanted to do. With a cold snort, he took a step forward and the power in his body swept out. At this moment, everyone kept retreating. Some people spat out blood. They couldn't resist at all. Even Peacock's face was pale and her blood was boiling. She couldn't bear it at all. Seeing this scene, Hun Tian sneered. A puny temple dares to go against me. Kneel down and accept your death. A cold voice sounded. Peacock's body swayed. It was as if she was facing a god. She couldn't resist this power at all. Chapter 52-48. Peacock could not resist the terrifying power of heaven and earth. She had no choice. No matter how strong she was not worth mentioning compared to the Double Crown King. Just as she was about to kneel, a voice rang out. How dare you touch my people? You must be tired of living. The voice was not loud, but it carried a sharp aura. As soon as it appeared, it cut through the power of heaven and earth. Peacock felt the pressure on her body disappear. She breathed a sigh of relief and smiled at the same time. She knew that Lin Xian had made a move. Hun Tian frowned when he heard the voice. He turned around and stopped looking at Peacock. Instead, he looked at the black-robed man next to her. His gaze seemed to have turned into a divine sword, causing hundreds of large cracks to appear around him. Who are you? He shouted coldly. Why? Don't you recognize me? Lin Xian took off his cloak and revealed his real face. Hun Tian frowned. It was indeed you. Lin Wudi. He guessed that the only person who dared to challenge him and help the temple was the temple master, Lin Wudi. It seemed that it was true. The people around exclaimed when they heard it. What? Lin Wudi. Was he Lin Wudi? Countless people were shocked. They all looked forward. Lin Wudi's name was like thunder to their ears. He was someone who was on the supreme list. Previously, he was even more famous. He was a top genius who swept through everything. Moreover, it was rumored that he was the temple master of the temple. They did not believe it before, but now it seemed that it was true. No wonder the temple dared to challenge him. It turned out that there was such a terrifying supreme behind them. He was Lin Wuti. Jian Shao was so scared that his scalp went numb and he almost fainted. Previously, when he challenged the other party, it was as if he had walked one round around the gates of hell. Thinking of this, he could not help but step back, hoping that he would not be discovered. Han Tian shouted coldly. Lin Wuti, are you challenging me? Is the divine hall trying to go against me? His eyes burst with sharp killing intent. So what if you're Lin Wuti? He didn't care about killing Xiang Fei, but to suppress his soul force was a slap to his face. It was a slap to the face of the chaotic clan. He couldn't stand it. More importantly, both he and his opponent were top-notch experts. Sooner or later, they would have to fight in the future. So now that he had the chance to kill the other party in advance, he wouldn't hold back. Your Highness, save me. Saint Son of all beginnings howled. Soul Force gritted his teeth. Kill him and avenge me. Your Highness, please help me. Everyone was shocked. It seemed like a battle was about to break out between the two. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Two ants dare to kill me. With a wave of his hand, the power of the purest yang erupted and shot towards Soul Force and the Saint of all beginnings. Their bodies swayed and then exploded, turning into a bloody mist. Blood rained down from the sky. The people around him went crazy and died. He had killed two top-notch geniuses with a wave of his hand. One of them was an expert from the Hundun clan. More importantly, the other party had attacked in front of His Highness Hun Tian. He was completely looking down on Hun Tian. Hun Tian's face was ashen, and killing intent appeared in his eyes. Damn it, the other party was slapping him in the face. Lin Wuti, if you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. The law of primal chaos on his body kept condensing. He couldn't help but want to attack. Lin Xian sneered. You're just a clone. Don't you think you're ridiculous? If you have the ability, call your main body and maybe fight with me. But with just your clone, you're not my match. Lin Xian's body also erupted with terrifying flames. 6 suns appeared, and he was like a sun god. At this moment, the entire world was burning. The surrounding people couldn't bear this power at all. They were shocked. This was the 9 Yang divine body, the purest Yang power. Was this the strength of a supremacy? Previously, when the true spirit world recovered, these genius experts rose and swept across the world. Their confidence became stronger. They felt that even if they encountered the buried Emperor Star, they would still dare to fight. They didn't even put anything in their eyes. But now, in front of Lin Xian, their confidence was shattered. They all went crazy and were about to collapse. With such strength, even if they all joined forces, they wouldn't be able to resist. This was a young supremacy. An existence that they looked up to. Sensing this aura, Hun Tian's face became gloomy. Lin Xian was right. He was only a clone now, which was the strength of a young powerhouse. If they really fought, his clone probably wouldn't be able to contend against Lin Xian. But he wasn't willing. He was the double crown king and also a young supremacy. How could he be willing to be suppressed by Lin Xian? Have you thought it through? Do you want to completely offend me? Although you're now on the supremacy list, so what? Your strength can't contend against me. You're the single crown king, while my main body is the double crown king. Once my main body comes out of seclusion, killing you will be as easy as flipping my hand. Biting cold killing intent surrounded everyone, making them feel as if they were facing a great enemy. Lin Xian laughed loudly when he heard this. Main body coming out of seclusion. How long? 100 years. 1,000 years. 10,000 years. If your main body doesn't come out of seclusion, what will you do? With your strength, you want to contend against me? What a joke. Lin Xian stepped out, and the sun god flame burned the 9 heavens. At this moment, even the aura of chaos was suppressed. Hun Tian gritted his teeth. Damn it, do you really want me to attack? Beside him, Longwu also walked out. She didn't say anything, but her body emitted terrifying dragon blood, and the terrifying illusion of 10,000 dragons roared. Is the 10,000 dragons court going to attack too? I'll fulfill your wish. Lin Xian raised his head and laughed. The flames on his body changed into demonic qi. Black demonic qi surrounded him, and he turned into a demon god. At this moment, Lin Xian's aura was too terrifying. It was powerful and domineering. It was as if he could destroy heaven and earth with a single word. Come, I'll allow the two of you to fight together. The great destruction spear appeared in Lin Xian's hand as if he was going to sweep through everything. At this moment, Long Wu was also facing a great enemy. Was this the person who killed the Dragon Prince? The young man who made the 10,000 dragons court feel despair. He was indeed strong. Hun Tian was so angry that his face turned green. He was calculating the chances of winning if the two of them joined forces. However, Lin Xian said, the quintessential world didn't need to be controlled by others. Even if it was, it couldn't be controlled by outsiders. Are you all going to stand on the side of the chaotic tribe? Are you all going to be enemies with the sacred whole? Lin Xian's gaze swept across all directions. At this moment, his eyes were also filled with a biting cold killing intent. The sky fell and the earth cracked. The powerhouses of the surrounding sacred grounds felt their scalps go numb. At this moment, they were terrified. They hadn't expected that between the two of them, it would still be them. This was a dilemma. If they walked over and joined forces with the Divine Union, they would offend Hun Tian. They wouldn't have a good ending. However, if they stood on Hun Tian's side now, Lin Xian would probably kill them immediately. After all, even the monarch races didn't dare to provoke him, let alone the sacred grounds. Chapter 52-49. But soon, there were people who submitted. They looked at Lin Xian and said, we are willing to follow deity's whole. Previously, Hun Tian was high and mighty and wanted to control the true spirit world. Not all of these sacred grounds were willing to do so. So now that there was a chance, they immediately stood out. As the first sacred ground stood out. Following that, a few other sacred grounds quickly stepped forward to join in. We are willing to advance and retreat with deity's whole. Greetings, young Master Lin. Young Master Lin is mighty. More and more people were leaning towards Lin Xian. This scene stunned the people of the Hun Tian race. The expressions of the sacred grounds on the side of the Hun Tian race changed drastically. They finally didn't dare to resist. Who wanted to die? So they could only walk over quickly. Greetings, young Master Lin. Young Master Lin is magnanimous. Please don't blame us. Yuan Zhu and Jian Shao knelt on the ground and kept apologizing. Young Master Lin, please spare our lives. This scene was very shocking. Hun Tian's expression became incomparably ugly. Was he inferior to the other party? Damn it. In fact, he didn't know that although he was the double champion, Lin Xian's name was much more famous than his. Moreover, he had been famous for a long time. Lin Xian had killed the Dragon Prince, fought against the 10,000 Dragon Court, and fought against the 10,000 Dragon Court. He even escaped and survived under the attack of the extreme Tao weapon. All kinds of deeds spread throughout the universe, shocking countless people. In the hearts of everyone, he was a godlike existence. Now that such a person had spoken, who else dared to resist? More importantly, Hun Tian only sent a clone. He couldn't defeat Lin Xian at all. If they didn't submit, Lin Xian could immediately send them to hell. So after weighing the pros and cons, they all submitted to Lin Xian. At this moment, there were only 3 forces on Hun Tian's side. Apart from the Hun Tian race, there was the all-beginning Sacred Ground and the 10,000 Dragon Court. Everyone's expression was incomparably ugly. What? Not convinced? I'll give you a chance to challenge me. Make your move. Lin Xian pointed his sword forward. The others were in an uproar. Was he really going to fight? Even the faces of the Hundun tribe changed. Hun Tian remained silent. His eyes grew colder and colder. Lin Xian laughed. You don't dare. If you don't dare, kneel down and kowtow to apologize, I can spare your life. You're courting death. Lin Tian was so angry that he trembled, and a terrifying radiance burst out from his eyes. Even if I'm just a clone, I can still defeat you. He roared at the sky, and the aura of chaos on his body condensed into the Sword of Chaos. It transformed into a divine sword and slashed down from the sky. Countless people were shaken and quickly retreated. Even though it was just a clone, it was still a young tycoon. With the strength of an imperial prince, this sword strike was unparalleled. Lin Xian looked at this sword and laughed loudly. I won't bully you, I'll fight you with one hand. Naturally, Lin Xian wouldn't go all out against his opponent's clone. One of his hands was behind his back, while the other hand reached forward to grab something. His 5 fingers seemed to have transformed into 5 divine swords that swept in all directions. An earth-shattering sound rang out. The two collided with a sonorous sound. The surrounding people were shocked. Lin Wuti was too powerful. He was actually fighting with one hand. Could he win? The people of the Hun Tian race gritted their teeth. Damn it, he's too arrogant. Let's see how His Highness will kill him. Sword of Chaos, split the world. With a furious roar, the sword slashed out with the power to split the world apart. At this moment, the entire sky shook violently, and countless large cracks appeared. Countless people were so scared that their scalps went numb. What kind of sword was this? It was too terrifying. Lin Xian shouted coldly. You want to compete in sword techniques? I'll grant you your wish. Lin Xian waved his arm, and 2 rays of black and white light condensed on it. Then, they turned into a sword light and slashed down. It was an arc-shaped sword light, and the moment it appeared, it seemed to be filled with hope and destruction. This sword strike stunned everyone. They could feel a terrifying great Tao circling around them. What a terrifying sword. Buzz. Clang. The sword light flashed, and there was a thunderous sound in the sky. The Sword of Chaos was sent flying. Meanwhile, a sword light had already appeared on Hun Tian's body and pierced through his body. Huff huff. There was no blood dripping because it was just a clone. However, it was even more terrifying. The clone's body was blurry, and it seemed like it was about to disappear. Countless people were terrified. Is he injured? He injured Hun Tian with one sword. How terrifying. Even Long Wu's pupils constricted. She realized that if she were to face this sword, it would be difficult for her to defend against it. Unless she took out her trump card, but that would be considered a loss. After all, Lin Wuti didn't even use a weapon for this sword. Impossible. The people of the Hun Tian race roared crazily. They couldn't accept it. The people of the Thousand Races' Holy Land were also stunned. This made them feel terrified. Hun Tian's aura weakened. He gritted his teeth and asked, "What sword technique is this?" "This is a sword technique that I created after comprehending life and death. It's called Origin Restoration," Lin Xian said coldly. Self-created sword technique. Hun Tian's pupils constricted. The sword technique that Lin Xian created is so terrifying. Long Wu and the others were also shocked. They originally thought that this was a legendary technique of the great emperor, but who would have thought that it wasn't? Has he grown to the point where he can create a peerless sword technique? This person is too terrifying. Lin Wudi, you're worthy of my full strength. When my main body arrives, I'll have a real battle with you. Hun Tian's cold voice sounded. He turned around and left with his people. Lin Xian sneered. You want to leave? Do you think that one sword is enough? Stay. Since Hun Tian treated him as an enemy, he wouldn't let him go. Another sword slash was made. This sword was even more terrifying. The laws of yin and yang danced, and a taiji diagram appeared, turning into the yin-yang god. One was extremely powerful, and it swept through everything. The other was cold, and it turned into the death god, destroying everything. As soon as the two of them attacked, they pounced towards Hun Tian. Hun Tian roared. You're courting death. Light of chaos. With a roar, a shocking light flickered in his eyes. Then, he tore through the void. These two rays of light were too terrifying. It was as if they had turned into eternity. When they hit the yin-yang god, there was a deafening sound. Hurry up and attack together. He roared at Long Wu. However, Long Wu turned around and left with the people of the nest of 10,000 dragons. Damn it, how dare you abandon me and leave? Hun Tian almost vomited blood. This is too unreliable. Your Highness, let us help you. The powerhouses of the Hun Tian clan and the other clans shouted angrily. They wanted to attack, but the yin-yang god fused into the Sword of Unity and slashed over again. This sword not only contained the power of yin and yang, but it also contained the power of the great dragon sword soul. It was indestructible and incomparably sharp. In the blink of an eye, Hun Tian's body was split into two halves. Under this sharp aura, his broken body couldn't recover at all. Destroy. The yin-yang image rotated and destroyed his broken body, turning it into endless chaotic aura that floated in the void. Chapter 5250. Everyone was dumbfounded by the scene before them. They had never imagined that Lin Xian would actually dare to kill the clone. The people of the All Beginnings Holy Land were dumbfounded. The experts of the Primal Chaos race roared crazily. Damn it! You actually dared to attack. Lin Xian sneered. Why wouldn't I dare? It's just a clone. Even if his main body was here, I would still kill him. The people of the Primal Chaos race were furious. They looked at Lin Xian, their expressions constantly changing. In the end, they didn't dare to attack. Had their plan been destroyed? In the distant palace high in the clouds, the people of the Pure Cleansing Immortal platform were similarly shocked. This was Lin Wudi. He was truly too powerful. Qing Tan sighed. Originally, they had thought that Hun Tian's plan would be perfect. But who would have thought that they would meet Lin Wudi? Everything would turn to ashes. He was too powerful. The people of the other holy lands were also incomparably shocked. They rejoiced at the fact that their previous choice had been correct. If they had chosen to stand on Hun Tian's side, they would have probably gone to hell by now. After all, the other party had even dared to kill Hun Tian's clone. He definitely wouldn't place them in his eyes. In an instant, the geniuses of the Holy Lands quickly paid their respects to Lin Xian. They were extremely cautious, not daring to offend the other party. Their young master had become even stronger. Yun Yu was shocked. The corners of Peacock's mouth rose into a smile. Very good. This was the result of opposing their deity palace. Their deity palace had Lin Wuti. They could sweep through everything. Looking at the stunned faces around him, Lin Xian's mouth rose into a smile. He waved his sleeve, and the aura of primal chaos that filled the sky disappeared. Then, he walked towards the throne in front of him and smiled. Everyone. Since you want to form an alliance with my deity palace, let's talk. The corners of Lin Xian's mouth rose. The people of the other Holy Lands were stunned. Then, they sighed. From the looks of it, they couldn't make any other choice. In the distance, the people of the Pure Cleansing Immortal platform were also shocked. This Lin Wuti actually wanted to reap the benefits of the other party's battle. Should we attack? They looked at Qing Tan. Qing Tan said. He had just killed Hun Tian's clone with a single sword strike. How powerful was he? No one knew. I didn't have full confidence that I would succeed. The geniuses behind him also sighed. It seemed like there was no way for them to make a move. Those from the Hundun tribe were roaring madly. Let's see who dares. Terrifying killing intent erupted from their eyes. The surrounding Holy Lands were stunned once again. Lin Xian snorted coldly. I don't even put Hun Tian in my eyes, let alone you guys. He clapped his hands, and 6 suns flew out, burning the 9 heavens. In the blink of an eye, it enveloped the primal chaos tribe. Those people tried their hardest to defend themselves. However, they were simply unable to do so. 2 of them tried to escape, but they were killed by Lin Xian's 6 Dao fist. Until now, none of the members of the Hundun clan had perished. Does anyone have any objections? Lin Xian spoke again. Those Holy Lands shook their heads one after another. They didn't dare. They were willing to form an alliance with deities whole. Very well, Peacock, I'll leave the rest to you. Lin Xian smiled. Peacock was also delighted. This was originally prepared by Hun Tian. Hun Tian had specially arranged this banquet to integrate the powers of the quintessential world. Who would have thought that it would benefit them in the end? This was really great. Peacock naturally knew the importance of this matter. She said, in that case, let's sign an alliance. With a wave of her hand, a scroll flew out. A blood oath to form an alliance. The other Holy Lands had no choice. They knew that from now on, they would have to stand on Lin Wuti's side. However, many of them were excited. After all, the power that Lin Wuti had displayed was really terrifying. He didn't even take the Double Crown champion seriously. Moreover, he was the only person on the sovereign list. Perhaps he could really become an emperor in the future. In an instant, these people had all agreed to a blood oath. Very well. Lin Xian's lips curled into a smile. This was really a pleasant surprise. This way, he would have another force to support him. The deities' hall and the divine union were all his forces. The quintessential world was already very special. Now that he had the support of these Holy Lands, it couldn't be any better. Come, everyone, let me give you a toast. Lin Xian raised his wine cup and looked around. Then, he drank it in one gulp. To young Master Lin. The geniuses of the other Holy Lands naturally didn't dare to be careless. They all drank it in one gulp. Then, the banquet started again. However, the host had changed from Hun Tian to Lin Xian. Some geniuses of the Holy Lands were very curious. They were geniuses who had just risen and didn't know much about the deity's hall. Naturally, they didn't know about Lin Xian's past in the quintessential world. However, there were still some people who knew. The old men explained it to them. Do you know? Lin Wuti is also someone from the quintessential world. The other geniuses were surprised, right? Isn't he from the buried Emperor's star? He had gone to the buried Emperor's star later. He used to be from the quintessential world. Back then, he was known as one of the 5 absolutes, the Middle Emperor. Although he was young back then, he was already able to defeat the Holy Sons. He had the title of Lin Wuti. In the end, he went to the ancient Star Road with the Yi family's holy physique and the others. So young Master Lin was already so powerful. Heavens, he is my idol. I must learn from him. Cries of surprise rang out one after another. These youths worshipped top-notch geniuses the most. Especially someone like Lin Xian. He didn't have a powerful identity but was able to rise from the ashes. They yearned for him. However, there were also people who said that he killed the Double Crown King's clone. Can he really contend against the Double Crown King? I heard that he is only the Double Crown King. There were also people who said that geniuses were improving every day. Moreover, he was the only one who reached the 4th level. Do you know what it means to be on the sovereign list? There was once someone who was on the sovereign list and became a great emperor. In other words, he had a lot of hope. Everyone was astonished. The sovereign list was for young sovereigns. Even great emperors would appear among them. Therefore, Lin Xian's future was limitless. Young Master Lin, please be magnanimous and spare us. At this time, Yuan Ju, Jian Shao, and the others walked over once more. They lowered their heads deeply. The experts of the Holy Lands behind them were also very nervous. On the other side, the people of the All Beginnings Holy Land were in despair. They couldn't leave or stay. After all, their All Beginnings Holy Land had an extraordinary relationship with the Primal Chaos race. How would Lin Xian deal with them? Lin Xian glanced at them. Then, the corners of his mouth rose. Today, my deity's hall gained many allies. I am very happy. Therefore, I will be lenient. Chapter 52-51. Kneel down and kowtow. Apologize. Cripple your own arms. To top geniuses, this was even more unbearable than death. Therefore, everyone looked at Yuan Ju, Jian Shao, and the All Beginnings Holy Land. They wanted to know what these people were going to do. When these people heard these conditions, their complexions turned ashen. This was akin to ruthlessly trampling on their faces. For a moment, they hesitated. At this time, Yunhua stood up and said coldly. What? You still don't understand. Since you don't know how to repent, you can go to hell. Her body emitted an extremely terrifying aura of good and evil. Hearing this, Yuan Ju slashed their bodies with his sword. Could they contend against Lin Wuti? There would only be one outcome if they did, and that was death. Therefore, they took a deep breath and knelt down, prostrating themselves on the ground. Young Master Lin, we were wrong. Please spare our lives. After saying that, they knelt down and severed their arms. Blood dripped into the void and penetrated the ground. These people buried their heads deep into the ground. All right, scram. Lin Xian waved his hand. These were all ants. He didn't care about them. What he wanted was to intimidate the world. The All Beginnings Holy Lands people naturally didn't dare to resist. They knelt down and severed their own arms. Then, they quickly left. The people from the other Holy Lands rejoiced and sighed in relief. Lin Wudi's iron-blooded methods had broadened their horizons. They knew that they absolutely couldn't become enemies with him in the future. After the banquet ended, Lin Xian left with Peacock and Yunyue. The others also left one after another. News of what had happened here had spread. For a moment, the entire Yuhua ancient city was shocked. Heavens, what did you say? Lin Wudi and Hun Tian fought. That can't be, right? Those two were incomparably terrifying. What was the result? Lin Wudi easily killed Hun Tian's clone. As expected of a supreme being. He was truly powerful. Countless shocked voices sounded. The primal chaos race gnashed their teeth and roared, Lin Wudi, just you wait. You're dead. They had already returned to ask Hun Tian's main body to come out of seclusion. Everyone knew that after Hun Tian's main body arrived, there would be a shocking battle between the two of them. At the same time, they were also shocked. Lin Xian's methods were truly terrifying. Those princes were also on high alert as if they were facing a formidable enemy. On the other hand, the people from the Divine Hall laughed heartily. They hadn't expected this gathering to be so fruitful. He had integrated the power of so many holy lands. Lin Xian left the matter of the temple to Peacock and Xingtian. At the same time, he asked about Xia Zhuyo's situation. Xing Tian said. The old palace master had not returned yet. Was he in any danger? Lin Xian shook his head. Don't worry, Elder Xia shouldn't be in danger. Lin Xian guessed that Xia Zhuyo's strength was an existence that surpassed everything. Hence, he must have his reasons for leaving. Lin Xian brought Yunyu back. After they returned, those people at the 9-Star Immortal Foundation were all stunned. Madam Purple Star personally came and asked, Young Master Lin, are you all right? Be careful, the primal chaos race might want to take revenge on you. Lin Xian laughed when he heard that. Don't worry, if they dare to come, I'll send them to hell. Madam Purple Star was shocked. Young Master Lin, I really admire you. You are my idol. Lin Xian laughed. This brother of his was too polite. Madam Purple Star shook her head. She really admired Lin Xian. Honestly speaking, she was an Immortal Foundation expert, a descendant of the Yuhua Immortal Dynasty. With such an identity, Madam Purple Star had always been high up in the air, looking down on those outside. But now, after getting to know Lin Xian, she changed her mind. Everything Lin Xian did was world-shaking. She couldn't help but admire him. Young Master Lin, you should make your preparations. It's getting closer to the opening of the fortuitous encounter. It's better to adjust your physique to the peak and be prepared at any time. What is the creation? Lin Xian asked. I'm not sure about the details. I only heard that the Yuhua Immortal Dynasty has the Ascension Gate. Once you enter, you'll be able to enter the Immortal Ground. The Ascension Gate. The Immortal Ground. Lin Xian drew in a deep breath. Just the name alone sounded mysterious. The Supreme Great Tao within would definitely be extremely terrifying. Lin Xian definitely wouldn't miss it. There was still a month's time. He had to prepare well. Next, Lin Xian, Yunyue, and the others returned to their seclusion. 3 days later, someone came. Madam Purple Star said, Young Master Lin, someone is looking for you outside. Who is it? Lin Xian. Madam Purple Star simply described the situation. The other party seemed to be from the Violet Palace. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes when he heard that. It should be Qin Xiener. Where was she? Madam Purple Star said that she had returned. However, she gave him a scroll. After Lin Xian received it, he started to check it. There was indeed a message recorded by Qin Xianer inside. The content was regarding Shinjingqiu. Lin Xian, Shinjingqiu has appeared. She is at the Sky Dome Immortal platform. If you want to see her, you have to be quick. If not, our Manor Lord will arrive soon. Lin Xian kept the scroll and took a deep breath. Sky Dome Immortal platform. He looked at Madame Purple Star and said, I want to go to the Sky Dome Immortal platform to see someone. Madame Purple Star didn't ask anything. Because now, she completely admired Lin Wuди. She would support Lin Xian no matter what he did. She hurriedly brought Lin Xian to the Sky Dome Immortal platform. The Sky Dome Immortal platform was also one of the most terrifying powers. This place was located in the sky, surrounded by clouds and mist. It was abnormally mysterious. The person who came stopped. A cold voice rang out from the clouds and the guards of the Sky Dome Immortal platform walked out. Madame Purple Star stated her identity. I am a 9-star immortal platform. So it was young Master Madame Purple Star. I wonder what young Master Madame Purple Star has come to our Sky Dome Immortal platform. I haven't seen Mo Tsangqiong for a long time. I would like to see him and spar with him. Mo Tsangqiong was also a highly ranked character in the Sky Dome Immortal platform. Hence, the guard hurriedly invited Madame Purple Star in. After all, Madame Purple Star's identity wasn't ordinary. They came to a palace that was like a paradise. Madame Purple Star stood with her hands behind her back. Lin Xian stood there. His gaze was looking around, and there was a golden glow in his eyes. He was looking for Shinjingqiu's whereabouts. Inside the Sky Dome Immortal platform, there were layers of restrictions and formations everywhere. Lin Xian's heavenly secret god eyes were extremely powerful. He could see through the formations to investigate. Emishim. In a courtyard, a middle-aged man frowned and looked around suspiciously. A woman beside him asked. What was going on? There was a pill furnace in front of them, and there were flames flickering within. Clearly, they were concocting pills. The middle-aged man said. I felt that someone was probing us just now. Impossible. The other woman in flames shook her head. Who would be able to probe the formations around them? Besides, who in the Sky Dome Immortal platform would dare to probe this place? Was it because you were too nervous while concocting pills? Relax a little. Maybe you are hallucinating. The middle-aged man nodded. Maybe. He closed his eyes again. In another mountain, demonic beasts were roaring non-stop. Many people were using illusions to train these demonic beasts. And on the other side of the mountain, there was a medicinal field. Chapter 52-52. Found it. Lin Xian retracted his gaze. Then, he rose into the air and left the hall. Zixing was surprised. Young Master Lin, where are you going? He hurriedly followed. After all, this was not their territory. This was the Sky Dome Immortal platform. Along the way, they encountered many arrays. Lin Xian's body erupted with a terrifying aura. A void beast appeared beside him and directly jumped through space. Zixing was very anxious. Young Master Lin, where are you going? Don't tell me you're going to the core of the Sky Dome Immortal platform. There are countless old monsters there. You will be killed. Lin Xian said, I'm going to a mountain peak. There are demonic beasts there and medicinal fields. I know, it's the Fallen Leaf Mountain Range. I'll bring you there. Zixing heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, it was not the core. Along the way, there were also many guards. Zixing lied and said that he wanted to meet Mo Tsangqiong there. Only then did the guards let him go. On the other side, a man in battle armor walked out. He was Mo Sangcheong. After receiving the news, the corners of Mo Sangcheong's mouth curled up. Zixing came to look for me. To spar with him. This guy is not my match. It seems that. This time, I have to suppress him properly. He walked towards the hall. But when he arrived, he found that the hall was empty. What's going on? Mo Sangcheong frowned. Could it be that the other party knows that he is no match for me, so he left? Where is he? Mo Sangcheong waved his hand. A guard walked in from outside and knelt down on one knee. Your Highness, young Master Zixing has left. Where did he go? Mo Sangcheong frowned. He went all the way east. You may leave. Mo Sangcheong waved his hand, then he rose into the air and flew out. On the way, he met a few guards. After asking, he learned that Zixing had gone to the Fallen Leaf mountain range. Why would he go there? Mo Sangcheong frowned. An array flickered under his feet and his figure disappeared. In the Fallen Leaf mountain range, there were countless red leaves dancing in the air. After landing on the ground, they turned into a golden color. It was very magical. In this red forest, there was an open space. A medicinal field had been established there. Standing at the edge was a woman in red. She had her hands behind her back and her chin was slightly raised. Under the sunlight, the side of her face was abnormally dreamy. It was like crystal glass. If someone was here, they would definitely be stunned. This woman was Shinjingqiu. She gazed at the red leaves fluttering in the sky. No one knew what she was thinking. At this moment, she suddenly frowned and turned around to look at the distant sky. Did someone come? She muttered softly. In the next instant, the void split open, and two figures emerged. An expert. What a terrifying aura. In an instant, Shinjingqiu fixed her eyes on one of them. That person wore a black robe and had a handsome face. His eyes shone with a golden radiance. It seemed to be able to see through everything. This person gave her a very dangerous feeling. Qiu, it's really you. It was Lin Xian. When he arrived and saw the figure in front of him, he immediately shouted out in joy. He walked forward. Stop! Shinjingqiu shouted, and a terrifying aura spread out. Who are you? How do you know my name? Lin Xian was stunned. Qiu, what do you mean? Don't you recognize me? I'm your big brother Lin Xian. Big brother Lin Xian. Shinjingqiu was confused. He seemed a little familiar. I don't remember having a big brother. Why are you looking for me? Her voice was cold, and it was surprising. What's going on? Don't you recognize me? Lin Xian was even more stunned. He couldn't believe it. Qiu, don't joke with me. What's wrong with you? Lin Xian's face turned cold. Previously, when Qin Xianer told him that Shinjingqiu had gone to the Purple Mansion, he felt that something was wrong. Now, there was indeed a problem. Qiu didn't recognize him. Was it the work of the prefectural magistrate? Brother Lin, do you know him? Behind him, Zixing was also shocked. This scene was a little strange. Lin Xian didn't reply. Instead, he continued to walk forward. Shinjingqiu felt a sense of danger. A golden whirlpool appeared on her body, and it exuded a terrifying strength. Don't come any closer. She drew a crack in the ground. If you step over this crack, don't blame me for killing you. Her voice was filled with cold killing intent. Lin Xian stopped in front of the crack. Pain appeared in his eyes. Do you really not recognize me? That damned Purple Mansion. How dare they attack you? Don't worry, Chiu, I won't let them off. Lin Xian still wanted to walk forward. Shen Jingqiu's aura condensed. She was about to unleash an ultimate attack. However, right at this moment, the void tore open once more as a figure appeared. A figure appeared between the two of them. This figure blocked Lin Xian's path. You're attacking me here. Do you have any respect for the Sky Dome Immortal platform? The aura of the man who appeared was equally terrifying. It was like a piece of heaven. It was incomparable. Those who block me will die. Lin Xian was enraged. Now that Shen Jingqiu had such a problem, he was extremely anxious. Whoever dared to block him would be his enemy. Lin Xian took a step forward. Flames erupted from his body. He was like the god of the sun. Stop! Seeing this scene, Zixing hurriedly shouted. He flew over and said, Sir, don't attack. I'm Emo Sangqiong. At the same time, he said to Emo Sangqiong, this is a friend I brought. He has no ill intentions. Friend? Emo Sangqiong frowned. Lin Xian didn't attack. The other party should be the Lord of the Sky Dome Immortal platform. He retracted his palm. Emo Sangqiong looked at Zixing and asked, What are you doing? Zixing was also confused. To be honest, I'm not too sure either. Sir Lin, can you explain? Lin Xian's gaze was fixed on Shen Jingqiu. Emo Sangqiong frowned. Sir, she's a genius of the Violet Palace Immortal platform and a guest of our Sky Dome Immortal platform. If you dare to attack her, don't blame me for being impolite. Clearly, this was a warning to Lin Xian. Zixing also said, Sir Lin, we can talk things out. She also didn't wish for Lin Xian to offend a lord of the Immortal platform. Lin Xian glanced at Emo Sangqiong. I don't wish to be enemies with the Sky Dome Immortal platform. It's just that she's my Dao companion. Now that there's a problem with her soul, I have to save her. What, Dao companion? Emo Sangqiong frowned. Zixing was also shocked. But from the looks of it, Lin Xian shouldn't be joking. Emo Sangqiong said, This fairy Shen is the fourth successor of the Violet Palace Immortal platform. I've never heard of her having a husband. Are you lying to me? Lin Xian coldly snorted. I've said it before. The problem with my Dao companion's soul was caused by the Violet Palace Immortal platform. I have a grudge with the Violet Palace. If you insist on helping them, don't blame me for being impolite. Lin Xian didn't wish to be enemies with the Sky Dome Immortal platform. But if the Sky Dome Immortal platform wanted to be enemies with him, then sorry. Chapter 52-53. You're too arrogant. Emo Sangqiong was enraged. He was the lord of the Immortal Foundation and this was his territory. Was the other party threatening him? His face turned cold. At the same time, he frowned. Madam Purple Star, who was he? How could you be friends with such a reckless person? Madam Purple Star was also anxious. Don't attack, he's Lin Wudi. What? Lin Wudi, the Lin Wudi on the Paragon list. Emo Sangqiong was shocked. He had also heard of this person before. This person was now a young paragon. He was above all the other geniuses. He didn't expect him to be this person. No wonder he felt like he was facing a great enemy. But so what? Emo Sangqiong coldly said. Lin Wudi, I know you've ascended to the 4th level of the Starfall Hall and have the possibility of becoming a great emperor. But that's just a possibility. You're still a great sage. This is the Sky Dome Immortal Foundation, not a place where you can behave atrociously. If you stop now and leave, I'll treat you with respect. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Impolite? Lin Xian coldly snorted. I've said it before, I'm taking my wife away. Anyone who tries to stop me is my enemy. Lin Xian stomped his foot, causing the surrounding sky and earth to crack. The terrifying aura caused the entire Fallen Leaf mountain range to tremble. Countless demonic beasts crawled in the mountain range. Those beast tamers had a drastic change in expression. What a terrifying power. Mo Tsangqiong also felt a terrifying aura. Was this the power of the divine body? The other party was indeed a paragon. But he wasn't someone to be trifled with. He was also a top-notch genius. His body emitted a vast aura, as though it had transformed into the sky. At the same time, countless figures rushed over from all directions. Your Highness, what happened? When they saw that someone was confronting their Highness, they all descended one after another. Who dares to behave atrociously here? Surrender without a fight. Cold shouts rang out one after another. Madame Purple Star's expression changed. Everyone, please don't attack. This is a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding. Mo Tsangqiong's expression was cold. If he didn't stop, then it wouldn't be a misunderstanding. Madame Purple Star, don't blame me for not giving you face. If young Master Lin has something to say, we can talk it out. Purple Star advised. Lin Xian remained unmoved. However, at this moment, Shen Jingqiu, who had been silent all this while, opened her mouth. You are Lin Wudi, the only young supreme martial artist. I want to see what's so amazing about a supreme being like you. Your Highness, can you stop and let me fight? Please help me arrange the battlefield. Was Fairy Shen going to make a move? Mo Tsangqiong was also stunned for a moment before he nodded. Alright, I'll set up the battlefield for you. With a wave of his hand, the Immortal Foundation experts in the surroundings also collected the law energy. They stood on one side and worked together to set up a formation, forming a battlefield. At the same time, they were shocked. Was this person in front of them Lin Wudi? Lin Wudi came to the Sky Dome Immortal platform to behave atrociously. One of them said. It seemed like they weren't here for us, but for Fairy Shen. There was enmity between him and the Purple Mansion. Discussions rang out as Shen Jingqiu walked into the formation. I don't know why you're looking for me, but it seems like you have a lot of questions. If you can defeat me, I'll explain it to you. Shen Jingqiu said coldly. Lin Xian took a deep breath. Alright, but don't worry, I won't hurt you. Hurt me? What a joke. Who do you think you are? You think you can sweep through everything just because you're on the sovereign list? I'll let you know how powerful I am. Shen Jingqiu shouted and slapped out with her palm. Her palm seemed to transform into an immortal seal that descended from the sky, carrying with it a mysterious aura. This Fairy Shen was so terrifying. When the surrounding Immortal Foundation experts saw this scene, their expressions changed. Fairy Shen was definitely at the Emperor level. She was a young powerhouse. Mo Tsangqiong also narrowed his eyes. He didn't expect the other party to be so strong. Previously, he paid attention to the other party because of her beautiful appearance. He didn't expect her strength to not be inferior to his at all. Lin Xian was also gratified. Qiu Er's improvement was godly. It was just that she didn't recognize him. This was still a hidden danger. As he thought about it, he attacked. His vast palm brought with it a sea of fire, and it grabbed forward with great momentum. Buzz! The collision between the two was earth-shattering. Lin Xian's palm was as steady as a rock, and he directly grabbed Shen Jingqiu's jade-like hand. He slapped out with his other palm, wanting to suppress Shen Jingqiu. Countless people were shocked. As expected of the legendary Lin Wuti, his methods were really too strong. Damn it. Shinchocho snorted coldly. She formed a seal with her palm, and suddenly, a golden vortex erupted. She shook off Lin Xian's palm, and at the same time, she shouted and pointed out with her finger. There was a biting cold saber light on her finger that could split heaven and earth. Lin Xian was also surprised. He shot out a beam of sword qi to fight back. The more the two of them fought, the more shocked the crowd became. Everyone had heard of Lin Xian's methods. However, Shen Jingqiu's various ultimate techniques left them dumbfounded. Even Lin Xian was shocked. He had never seen these techniques before. They must be the ultimate techniques of the Purple Palace realm. It seemed like Shen Jingqiu was valued in the Purple Palace realm. However, what shocked him even more was the golden vortex on her body. This was the origin inheritance that she cultivated. As for what it was, he didn't know. It was very likely that it was very dangerous for Qiu. Lin Xian roared at the thought of this, and his divine ability changed. The 6 Dao fists transformed into 6 worlds that enveloped Shen Jingqiu. At the same time, a golden radiance burst out from his eyes. The terrifying power of reincarnation appeared on the reincarnation mountain. It seemed like it wanted to suppress Shen Jingqiu's soul. He wanted to see what kind of changes had happened to her soul. He guessed that the Purple Palace realm must have changed her soul. As long as he could find a flaw, he would be able to help Shen Jingqiu recover. The power of the 6 Dao reincarnation appeared, causing the world to change. The surrounding people retreated, and the array kept breaking. Shen Jingqiu was also suppressed at this moment. Her soul was enveloped by Lin Xian's gaze, and it felt like it was about to be torn apart. She roared, and her black hair danced wildly. You want to pry into my soul? You're too naive. Countless golden vortexes spun around her body. In those vortexes, mysterious figures appeared one after another. The golden figures sat cross-legged, as if they were gods. The moment they appeared, the 9 heavens and 10 earths shattered. The faces of those on the Sky Dome immortal platform turned pale. Even Mo Tsangqiong's pupils shrank. What is this? He felt like he was suffocating. It was too terrifying. It could even threaten his life. He retreated far away. The moment these golden figures appeared, they let out a heavenly sound that blasted in all directions. It caused the 6 Dao fists world to shake and collapse. Shen Jingqiu rushed out and slapped at Lin Xian. There were countless vortexes in her palm, and the golden figures on them suddenly burst out with a terrifying radiance that swept everything. Not good. Zixing exclaimed. Young Master Lin retreated quickly. He could naturally feel the terror of the golden figures. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.